Hey there, meteorologist Peter Hall, and thanks for joining us here on the live stream. We're also going to be on the air shortly on NBC3, but wanted to let you know about some new tornado warnings that are in effect. There's a tornado warning in effect that just is right around the Geneva Waterloo area. It's borderline because there's not extreme red and greens next to each other, but it's enough of a twist that we're got to be weather aware about Waterloo and Seneca Falls. We are about to go live on NBC3, CBS 5, and CW6, so we'll start you there. Good afternoon. I'm NBC3 meteorologist Peter Hall, joining you on NBC3, CBS 5, and CW6 at 3:04, where new tornado warnings are in effect for parts of the Finger Lakes region. So let's go right now to the weather computer to show you where those are and how the radar looks as well. Taking this up full screen, we've got a new tornado warning in effect for northern Seneca County and from roughly Geneva east to Seneca Falls. And you can see that in the red area. All those red polygons, those are all tornado warnings. The yellow ones are severe thunderstorm warnings also for damaging wind. If we can go back to the weather computer, please, we can show you other specifics here. So going to the weather computer here, we can show you the full gambit here of what's going on. And you can see right there, actually we have to wait to bring up the other weather computer, please, so that we can show you all the cells and zoom in. So there we go, right there. There are all the cells that have warnings in effect. I'm going to stop this from looping. The worst cell right now is the one that has all the lightning right here by Geneva and Seneca Falls, right there. See all that lightning? I'm going to remove the lightning just so that we can show you the cell in question, which is right here. We'll show the velocity scan. It's got a couple of couplets, meaning it's showing winds blowing in different directions here and here. See how it's different colors? It means it's roughly some rotation right around West Junius, right near the Throughway, as well as the Route 20 corridor, okay? That's a problem. So if you're on the Throughway between Phelps, West Junius, and Tyre, and or Route 20 between Geneva, Seneca Falls, at the very least, you're getting heavy thunderstorms with damaging wind and torrential downpours. There's also possibility of a spin-up type tornado there. Also want to show you what's left over of that storm that went into Lewis County, still producing some damage. That yellow polygon is a severe thunderstorm warning, and that continues to bring the threat for severe weather in through there. In the greater Syracuse area, just to give you some context and perspective here, nothing happening yet, but you may notice dark skies to the west. The storms that are happening to the west near Geneva and Seneca Falls are roughly moving in this direction. Whether that particular cell hits Syracuse or not, there are other cells behind it here, so we all have to stay weather aware. The red polygons are where the warnings are, which is what we just showed you. Earlier, there was a warning in effect for Wayne County, but as that storm has moved northeast, there's still a chance for a bit of spin in through here. Not overwhelming, but there is a little bit of spin near Lyons, and maybe something trying to come towards Red Creek and Fairhaven as well. Just to reiterate, everybody's got a tornado watch. That means you need to be prepared. When we talk warnings, that's the time you start taking action because tornadoes or rotations have been spotted on radar. There is something called a tornado emergency. It's extremely rare. It's only when you've got a very large tornado hitting a big populated area. If a tornado warning is in effect, which we just talked about for parts near Seneca Falls and Wayne County, this is what you need to do. And by the way, keep this in mind across other parts of central New York. If you get tornado warnings later, stay calm, go to the basement. If you don't have a basement, go to an interior room, like a bathroom, a small room that's protected. You may also want to bring, if you've got a football helmet or a motorcycle helmet, may not be the worst idea to have that so you can cover your head. God forbid something goes wrong. Also have a cell phone ready and make sure you're wearing shoes. Because if your home or business is destroyed or has damage, you don't want to be barefoot walking on nails, glass, debris, etc. Just to reiterate, we also have a tornado watch in effect, basically for the entire upstate New York region. Remember, watch means ingredients are there. It's like baking a cake. You've got all the ingredients on the table mixing. You got to put it in a pan and put it in the oven for it to actually make a cake. Well, that's what's happening right now. And where there's a warning in effect, that cake is coming out of the oven, potentially producing damaging wind and or possibly even another tornado or two. So just to reiterate where the warnings are, just to move them over right here, the red polygons are the tornado warnings. The yellow polygons are severe thunderstorm warnings for damaging wind. And even though we haven't mentioned it, we also have to be weather aware of some flash flooding. Notice this right up in here. there's actually a flash flood warning in effect for Lewis County too. Did want to make mention of that, even though it's less priority because it's in the North Country, but we do want to make mention that any of these thunderstorms could produce flash flooding at any time. Megan Coleman is also with us. Let me know if you don't have any information. Okay, we have a video of Junius Pond Throughway rest stop, and it's like web camera from the Throughway. When we have that, we can bring that up. And there you go. Visibility, big time problems right there. In the front, you can see there's a Sunoco gas station, big truck stops over there. You can't even see across the parking lot. Okay, that's a problem if you're trying to drive. You got to pull over. You can't see anything, right? Not to mention that heavy kind of rain, you can hydroplane. You can have an accident. Even if there's no damaging winds, you can have a problem. That's another factor. We've got tropical downpours because this is a leftover tropical system. Don't believe me? Step outside if it's nice and sunny. You can feel all that humidity. Megan.
Yeah, I mean, Pete, listen, this is the visual of what we're seeing across parts of central New York today to give you a sense as to what communities throughout our region are experiencing. Certainly, we've been seeing the watches and warnings. We've been hearing about them. Pete has been showing us the radar, telling us about the tornado watch in effect for all of central New York. We've been looking at those tornado warnings, which is why we have been on the air throughout the afternoon, first in Madison County, then Oswego County.
Hey, Megan, I got a new tornado warning. Let's bring up, please bring up the weather computer, please. That would be great. This would be the shoreline of northeastern Wayne, northern Cayuga, and Oswego County. You see the red polygon right up there. It was what just was blinking a second ago. We'll zoom in. This is the brand new tornado warning. This one right here. So those of you around Sterling, Fairhaven, Moon Beach, between Desboro Park and Moon Beach, right on the shore. That's the Route 104 corridor. It goes right through here, okay? Everybody on the Route 104 corridor, heads up. You have got a tornado warning until 4 o'clock. That includes all the towns you see right in through there, like Oswego and Scriba, the shoreline of Lake Ontario. It bears repeating. You should have gotten off the shores with these types of thunderstorms running around, okay? That's the newest tornado warning in effect. As we show you the full gambit of what the radar looks like, there's a lot going on here, isn't there? The worst cells that have lots of lightning and the potential for damage are these right here, although we were looking at these before earlier. This one still has a severe thunderstorm warning and a flash flood warning for the North Country. However, this is the storm that just became tornado warned that I've now zoomed over to. This one right here. Let's throw up a velocity scan. For what I see, there is a couplet. Yeah, it's right there. I want to bring up just a different vantage point on a different thing. Yeah, right there. Just want to approximate what I'm seeing wind-wise for speeds. I'm seeing 56 mile per hour winds at the very least around the south side of Fairhaven. Okay, but just north of the 104 corridor, just west of Martville, I've got a 63 mile per hour scan of wind, 63 miles per hour, right around between Fairhaven and Fincher's Corner. So if you're between Fairhaven and North Victory, regardless if it's a tornado or not, there is some major wind action happening. And I want to just show you where that is on this map right here. Okay, it's right there. Right in this area right here. All of this right here is the strong winds. Regardless if it's a tornado or not, there is winds of at least 60 miles per hour happening right now. You may also notice, by the way, that there's different colors that you're used to. This is the color that you're typically used to. That's the regular radar that we're showing. Notice there's no apparent hook echo yet, but if it were to develop, my guess is it would be in here. We're going to carefully watch if the rear flank downdraft produces a hook echo like this. On the velocity scan, the Weather Service was a little concerned, as they should be with any of these storms, because they have the potential of spinning up quickly. It would be right in there, okay? And just to give you a little bit of how things are moving, it's literally moving like right this way. So very close to the 104 corridor, as well as areas north and west of Fulton, heads up, Sterling, Hannibal, Oswego. I hope this doesn't go across the city of Oswego. That would not be good. Megan, you have any information that you can add to this?
Well, Pete, I can tell you that we did just learn that Cayuga County has closed all of its county office buildings. We learned Onondaga County earlier, as we told you. They also were closing county services. Also, the city of Syracuse has closed its administrative offices, and all parks and recreation youth programming in the city of Syracuse is canceled for this afternoon. Let's look at the outage map, Pete, because we are beginning to see more power outages across the central New York region. Specifically, the one that we can zero in on is in Oneida County. Vernon has 576 customers in the dark right now, so that's one pocket of our viewing area that's seeing folks in the dark. Westmoreland, also in Oneida County, has about 65 homes without power. In Oswego County, that's one of the areas we've been focusing on this afternoon. About 36 people without power in New Haven at this hour. So we are keeping a close eye on the power outages for you and any other effects that we're seeing of the storm. We are monitoring any potential damage reports across central New York. Do be aware that there could be tree limbs that will be coming down potentially. There could be power lines that will be down. So you do need to be careful as you're watching the storm from inside the safety of your home. And do make sure that if you're in one of those danger zones, as Pete has been saying all afternoon, make sure that you have a good plan to stay safe. Stay in the interior side of your home. If you're in that tornado warning zone, get to a basement, a low area of your home. Stay away from any windows and make sure that you do stay safe, Pete, because you know, we are on the air to give folks the warning that they need to know about, but now it's incumbent upon everyone else to stay in touch with family and friends, make sure that they're indoors and staying safe.
Yeah, let's give you the two updates. There are two ongoing tornado warnings within the immediate central New York area. Okay, let's pop out to the full gambit here so you can see all of central New York, and then we'll zoom into one which is near the Oswego area right there. See how we're zooming in? Look at all that lightning. Also notice the reds, which is heavy rain. But I want to show the velocity factor. You see this right here? This green and red together. Basically, you've got winds moving in different directions there. Okay, that means you've got winds blowing like this in the red and this in the green, which probably means there's at least a twisting motion right where that X is. And that X, or what you would call the cell that's moving, is moving in roughly this direction. So you got to all be heads up. That means you need to take shelter immediately. Lowest floor of your house, basement is preferable. If not, lowest interior room. That's number one. Number two is this particular cell right here around Waterloo. You've got a tornado warning for Waterloo, Seneca Falls, Cayuga, the north end of Cayuga and Seneca Lakes, as well as Tyre. That's got a tornado warning in it. Just to remove the lightning so you can see everything better, plus I will remove the arrows to bring up the velocity. See this right here? Now I'm using a different radar here, but winds are blowing this way in Seneca Falls and this way in Waterloo. You got that couplet, the red versus green there. So there's likely rotation right there. I'll put a little X on it so you can see there's likely rotation right there. And just to give you, again, some motion on this, you pretty can easily see it's moving like this. Okay, so those areas next, we've mentioned Seneca Falls, Tyre to Mudlock and Cayuga, the Route 20 corridor between the Throughway West Junius and all the way to Auburn, heads up, especially Mudlock and Cayuga. Montezuma on the Throughway could be in store for this as well. Throopsville, Senate, Brutus, all be weather aware. You're not in the warning yet. If this holds together, you would be next. Unfortunately, you know, the next people up after this is going to be closer to the Syracuse area. That is the way it looks right now with respect to tornado warnings. There's also one I want to mention, even though it's not technically in the area yet, right over here by Watkins Glen and Bath. We'll have to carefully watch these cells because all of this is moving northeast. Okay, so any of these cells are going to still have to cross parts of our area. That does not mean everybody's getting a tornado. It does not mean everybody's getting wind damage. It does not mean everybody needs to go crazy here. However, when you have a tornado warning, you need to stay calm and then go to the lowest floor of your house or building. Basement is preferable. Try to get a helmet if you've got that, a football helmet, any kind of helmet to protect yourself, and make sure you're doing the right thing. Make sure you have shoes on too. That way, in case there's some damage after you come out of the basement, you'll be okay. We've got Michael Benny and Megan Coleman. Anything to add that you guys got any damage or anything on your end?
Yeah, well, as Michael gets settled in here, Pete, hopefully maybe we can try to pull up some of the pictures that we're starting to see from New York State Police. If we could get that up on our computer, we'll have our producer work on that. But New York State Police, Michael, are now posting photos from the west of us. Okay, so this is what has come right before it came to central New York, out of the North Collins, Chautauqua County area and the Eldon, Erie County area. And as we try to work to get some of those pictures, I mean, we can start to at least describe some of what we're seeing.
There's a lot of tree damage.
A lot of trees are down
right now. I mean, and all you have to do is is listen to Peter, number one, but step outside for any amount of time today to feel. I was just in the Weather Center, and Josh Kozlowski and Violet were both saying that the atmosphere really is, they use this term, juiced. And you don't need to be a meteorologist in order to feel that outside today. You just feel it in the air. This heat is not
Yeah, it certainly isn't. And if our producer can give us some guidance as to where these pictures are coming from, but we're looking at pictures that have just come in. Okay, now this is from Erie County, we're being told. You can see this is the aftermath of the storms that have blown through there. Folks in the area, emergency personnel, and perhaps maybe even some homeowners now going through the piles of debris, the tree limbs that have come down. We're starting to see pictures of power lines that are really at like a 90-degree angle hanging on their sides in parts of western New York after the storm blew through the area. You can see folks in that community of Eldon are on the street there in Erie County. Emergency crews responding to some of the reports of damage. We have not gotten any reports of damage in central New York yet, although, Michael, it wouldn't be surprising if we started to.
No, already there are some reports from Erie County. The Erie County executive, Mark Follenkars, who's very active on social media, has posted that the town of Eden in Erie County, it's not far from East Aurora, I believe, there's significant damage on a number of farms. So the story, at least at this point in Erie County, is going to be that agriculture has taken a massive hit. If there's good news, if there's any good news in that, we never want our farmers to suffer, it's that populated areas, at least at this point, seem to have been spared. But the Erie County executive said that in the town of Eaton, there's just been declared a state of emergency. Significant damage at a number of farms, especially with barns, structures on farms that are now a total loss. And there are, unfortunately, reports of animals being injured. No reports of any people being hurt. But in Erie County, things are a bit of a mess right now. They're closing roads in and around the area of Aurora and East Aurora because they do believe that a tornado passed through there, at least a tornado.
Well, yeah, Pete, that's what you've been talking about. You've been seeing evidence of tornado on the radar, nothing visual that we've seen so far.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that. Yes, we see rotation on the radar, but I just looked at some reports, and there's been 2 miles northwest of Georgetown at 1:30. Remember we were on during that?
Yeah, that's right.
There was a funnel cloud reported in Georgetown. 2 miles northwest of Georgetown, funnel cloud, weather spotter observed, a funnel cloud. Also in Canandaigua at 2:24, wind damage confirmed on the north end of Canandaigua Lake there. So that's just the beginnings of what may also be some more damage that comes in. But we do have a confirmed report from a couple of storms ago here at 1:30 that in Georgetown there was actually a funnel cloud reported. We can go over the radar again unless you guys have more information right this second.
I do wonder because we've been talking about Beryl now for more than a week.
Sure.
And now here we are in the thick of what's left of this storm that arrived in Texas. Is this stuff getting stronger as it moves from west to east? Is there any way of knowing? Do they generally get stronger, or are there just too many factors to know?
So, okay, when you have a tropical system, it makes landfall, it just turns into a rainmaker. The difference, though, here, we've had landfalling tropical systems, Irene, Ivan, there's so many to list here. Typically, flooding is the biggest problem because typically we're on the north and west side, which usually has a large area of heavy rain. We're on the southeast side, which can happen. Typically, the southeast side is there's more sun, which we had. It's drier with respect to not a steady rain, but then what happens is you have all that tropical air. It's super hot and humid, but you still have a twisting of winds that happen with tropical systems. And that instability, the wind shear with speed and also direction allows thunderstorms that grow up into those big anvils that you see, having wind directions and speeds that are different. So instead of just winds that come straight down out of a thunderstorm that are microbursts like this, you then get them twisting. And that's why on a southeastern side of a landfall system, which typically is not something we see, and also be hot and humid at the same time and get the sun, all those ingredients juiced the atmosphere, plus the wind direction and speed change, and all of that on a southeastern side of Beryl, which is what's passing to our north and west. We're not seeing any kind of hurricane situations. This is more of a almost Midwest system where you get spinning with the wind and height and all these other things. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on that, but think about this more as a severe thunderstorm outbreak more than like a tropical weather maker.
We've now
Yep.
Made its way further deeper into central New York.
Yes.
Earlier when we were on the air about an hour ago, we were watching that off to the west of it. It's now made its way here. Is there anything
Yep.
else out to the west
Yep.
that will now make its way here as well?
We got to, yes, there are other scattered storms. We actually have a new warning that's been issued here. The primary line is this one here now. And actually, we've got more warnings, which I'll get to. But notice back here, there are more scattered storms. Let's zoom in. We still have, this is funny. We still have this warning for Oswego, and I'll just bring up the velocities real quick. Not overwhelming, but there's still some rotation here. Just want to zoom in and show you a new warning for, now this is kind of silly here. I'll actually show it on a different map, but because there's two different weather services here, it's going to look silly that parts of Onondaga County don't have a warning while Oswego on both sides do. Right here, see this? This looks really silly. You got a warning here, but not here. Okay, I'm not sure what the National Weather Service covers Onondaga County. National Weather Service in Buffalo covers Oswego and Cayuga County. So this should have a warning too, even though it technically doesn't. I'll show you why on the map here. So first to the Oswego County warning, we still have a tornado warning, not overly impressive with respect to twisting winds here, but right there, there's at least some damaging wind coming through the 104 corridor right there. Then going back to the reflectivity and showing you this particular storm down here, this is the one that I'm a little surprised if the Weather Service in Buffalo is putting a warning for Schuylkill and Cato, you would think the Weather Service in Binghamton would also put a warning in effect for northwestern Onondaga County. I'm just going to say heads up in this entire area right here, at the very least for damaging winds. Okay, that's important right there. So the current storm is right in here between Montezuma, Tyre, and Savannah, moving towards Mentz and eventually into Conquest and Cato and Ira. and the worst, with respect to the worst twisting of the winds, it's this one right here by Mudlock. We had mentioned this before going through Seneca Falls. Just to show you a loop of this, of where the winds are twisting. You can also see some lightning there too. This is the twisting wind right in here by Tyre and Montezuma. I'll get rid of the lightning so you can see it better there. So in terms of twisting winds, like maybe a tornado, Montezuma, Brutus, Throopsville, Senate next. Technically, maybe the Weather Service in Binghamton's just waiting a little while to make sure, hey, we want to make sure this is actually going to be twisting its way. But heads up, in Jordan, Elbridge, Baldwinsville, Van Buren, Three Rivers, as well as eventually potentially closer to the Syracuse area. We don't want to say absolutely just yet, but the northwestern part of the county of Onondaga needs to be next ready for a tornado warning. Just to reiterate, everybody's got a tornado watch. That doesn't mean everybody's going to get a tornado. Even inside a warning, you don't necessarily definitely going to get a tornado, but you're probably going to get at least a heavy thunderstorm and damaging winds. I know there's something that's a tornado emergency. Let's hope that doesn't happen. That would mean a huge tornado is bearing down on a populated city. Here's what you should be doing in case you're wondering or just tuning in. If you have a tornado warning not mentioned here, you should also wear shoes or some sort of footwear while you're in a basement in case you have to come outside and you're surveying damage and you can't get to your shoes. You don't want to be stepping on nails, glass, debris, etc. Guys.
Okay, Pete, I want to give an update on power outages that we've been monitoring for you. And you were talking about Oswego County specifically, right? 205 customers are in the dark there right now. If we drill down a little bit further based on town, here's what we're seeing. 36 customers in New Haven, 137 in Mexico. So those are those two pockets in Oswego County. But this is kind of what we would expect.
Not bad right now. If you think back to what happened just hours ago, certainly we've been alerting to this potential for this to be a significant weather day across central New York. But all day long, I was noticing folks out doing yard work, folks who hire out for yard work. There were employees working in neighborhoods and doing things. We know we have cell phones these days, but please, if there's someone that you know who does outdoor work and they're in one of these areas that Pete has talked about, one of these areas that Pete has alerted to, that things could get a little hairy over the next couple of hours, give them a warning. Make sure that they are fully aware of the situation.
Yeah, you know that this is the 10-year anniversary just this week of the deadly Smithfield tornado in Madison County. 10 years ago this week, 4 people were killed in a tornado in Smithfield in Madison County. That included, Michael, as you'll recall, a 35-year-old mother and her 4-month-old daughter. It was a terrifying situation in central New York. A 70-year-old and a 53-year-old were also killed. This happened on Gawk Road in Smithfield when their home was destroyed by this tornado.
10 years ago. 10 years gone by, and now, to some degree, alerts like this have become, while not typical, certainly not typical. It's not typical that we would take up the airwaves like this for something so urgent and potentially life-threatening. But we have become just a little bit more acclimated to it, it seems, over the last decade.
And it's important for people, as Pete always says, to stay weather aware. You know, it may not be in your community right now. If you're in Onondaga County, for example, that's where our studios here are. You may not be seeing it where you are, but it could come. So you do need to stay weather aware. You need to stay with us on air. Keep your phone nearby you. We have our social media channels and our website, of course, populated with the latest warnings, the watches, and all the important information that you need.
Let's look live in Oswego right now. It's mostly rain. Hard to tell there from the live Park Hall camera on the campus of SUNY Oswego just how much wind, although every once in a while you do get something that looks like a pretty good gust of wind. The lake is out there, really it is, although no one is seeing it. I'm sure right at the shoreline.
And I think it's important to say, once again, we really need to reiterate this, that you cannot be on water right now. It doesn't matter if it's a Lake Ontario or another body of water. Not the day to be out fishing or anything like that. Let's get back to Pete. He has some new breaking information. Pete?
Yeah, first of all, there's a funnel cloud that has been reported in Steuben County at 3:10. That was just 20 minutes ago, okay? So this is what we've been talking about in terms of seeing multiple storms. This one has me quite concerned. I've zoomed into Cayuga County just to get your bearings on where you are. Here's Syracuse right there, Elbridge, Senate, Auburn, Cayuga, Montezuma, just to show you where everything is, okay? This cell right here is twisting. Winds are moving like this here and like this here. So right where I'm going to put the X, right there, is roughly where there's a spinning thunderstorm. Might be producing a tornado. In terms of how that is all moving and where it's going next, just to show you how things are moving, you can see how things are kind of moving from west to east with a slight northward push. I think you can see where that's going next. Now, I don't want to be alarmist here, but it's kind of moving in this direction, just to show you, make sure I have my arrows straight here. So next up would be Onondaga County. Obviously, first is Montezuma, already going through there. Brutus and Senate are next. Jordan Elbridge would be following up. Jordan Elbridge, obviously, in Onondaga County. We still don't technically have a warning in Onondaga County. Say again?
If you were
giving
in charge of issuing these, when would a warning for Onondaga County come, given what you're seeing right there?
If it was my responsibility, I would at the very least put the Jordan Elbridge area and maybe even Camillus Van Buren close. They're probably minutes away from putting something out. At the very least, a severe thunderstorm warning. That's the cell it's moving right towards Brutus and Senate. Regardless if it's an actual tornado or not, wind damage does a lot of damage too. Labor Day storm, over 100-mile-per-hour winds. Obviously, tornadoes make a lot of news because it's so easily seen and it's so eyebrow-raising. You're right now looking at a velocity scan. That's what it kind of looks weird. This is what normally it looks like, just to show you, just to kind of calibrate everything. It would be this particular storm right here that it kind of has a slight appendage right there that's bowing outward. That's the one that we were just discussing on the velocity. See, right there and then there. See?
And Pete, you know, that direction that it's headed is also not far from Syracuse Airport, right? I just was checking
that's right there.
The airport arrival and departure schedules. I'm not seeing any delays or cancellations at this point, but certainly that could change as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be smart about it. They're probably, if there's a flight leaving in 10 minutes, they'll send them off east. But probably in a half an hour, there's not going to be anything. Josh, do you have anything for me?
Yes, I do.
Is this the funnel cloud stuff?
It's that and a couple other reports there as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we got these.
Okay.
The tree. Thank you. Okay. Geneva's got a tree down blocking the road. So we've had damage in Geneva. And Cannonsiega's got power lines down. Thanks, Josh.
Sure.
And I don't know if you know, we had also Georgetown.
Georgetown.
Okay,
Yep.
Waterloo just came in with a wind damage as we're speaking, and Geneva as well. That's the one you just showed me.
Mm-hmm.
So Waterloo also 1 mile northeast of Waterloo has wind damage. These are all producing damage one way or the other.
And you know what, actually, Josh just alerted us to a weather watcher in the Waterloo area with some video coming in of a wall cloud in Waterloo. Pete, what exactly is a wall cloud, and is that concerning?
Yeah, it's a precursor towards a funnel cloud or a tornado. Yeah, that's why it's called a wall cloud. It kind of looks like that, and then you have a funnel that drops out of it.
And sometimes, Megan, too, when there's a visual before a radar indication, before a radar indicated storm. Yeah.
Is it on?
I'm not sure. So we have it on here, Mike 3. Basically, Megan, to answer that, sometimes you get a visual, and then they can issue a warning because of the visual before the radar even indicates it, or it justifies what the radar has shown Pete and myself too. So it's kind of a visual confirmation, kind of report in real time of what's happening in the sky versus what's happening on the ground.
Yeah, so this is a really important cross-reference for all of you.
Do tornadoes always happen in hot weather like this? Do they always happen in hot weather?
Doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to be.
It could be within a system that has hot weather on the south side. You can sometimes have tornadoes on a warm front on the north end of those things. Typically, you have to have a lot of energy, although there are some cases where you don't have to have this. But certainly, the more energy you have, and more importantly, the shifting of winds with height in direction and speed. So you can have a surface wind that's one direction, and then you have winds at 5,000 feet at a different direction, and it causes opportunities for twisting thunderstorms.
Pete, let's talk about the direction that this particular system that we're looking at right now is going. So for folks in, let's see, Camillus,
Sorry about that.
Jordan Elbridge, Van Buren, Liverpool, what should they be doing right now?
Get inside.
Minutes before?
Get inside.
Okay.
You don't want to be outside during this
Do they
thunderstorm.
need to get to a basement at this point, or not necessarily?
Jordan Elbridge, I'd say yes,
Yeah.
even though you don't have a warning. I would say yes on Jordan Elbridge. It doesn't hurt. I don't want to wait to the last second on this one. Again, the couplet here, which is the wind direction, we're looking at velocities here. So this is the Binghamton radar site. So the reds are going this way and the greens are going this way. So that would imply that there's some spin here. Whether it's producing a funnel cloud or tornado, almost irrelevant, but that's where it would be if there's a tornado. And there is a warning for everybody but Onondaga County. And this is the strongest part of this. And it's literally minutes away from Elbridge and Jordan.
Yeah.
So I would take shelter if I was in Jordan
And
Elbridge right now.
Important too, if you have an activity this afternoon that has not yet been canceled yet, you need to make your informed decision, right? I mean, make a choice that is safe, that you believe for your family.
Yeah.
Syracuse Mets just postponed the Syracuse and Scranton Wilkes-Barre game.
More information about Waterloo, by the way. A large tree fell on a home. So you could be in your home and something falls on it. This is what I was referring to, having footwear. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Michael.
No. Please interrupt. Please
Okay.
interrupt, because you've got the most critical information. The fun and games will certainly wait, but the Syracuse Mets just emailed us moments ago. They certainly are aware of our coverage right now. They're postponing it for rain, which I think is an interesting way of saying it. We've got a lot more than rain going on. Otherwise, we wouldn't be on the air right now across all of our stations. Really with this information.
Yeah. All right. So let's get another quick check of the radar, if we can pull it up for you right now, of exactly where this strong system is moving through. And Pete has been.
Yeah, I could take it from here.
Pete, tell us exactly where the system is now.
Right.
Where is the point of concern?
Right. Just want to show you the warnings without the radar, because there's a lot of information on a radar. The red are tornado warnings. The yellows are severe thunderstorm warnings. What's the difference? The yellow probably just has wind damage versus, let's say, twisting winds or a possible tornado. So those are the boundaries of where, and notice how, this is what I was referring to. What is going on here with the Weather Service not putting anything for for Northwestern Onondaga County? I think it's silly, but whatever. At some point, they'll do something. This is the cell that's the most concerning right here. This one right here. See this by Mentz and Senate? Velocity. Just bring that up. I'm going to take this off here. By the way, I've been taking off the lightning. There's all the lightning. I took the lightning off because there's just so you can see the radar and stuff. See? You can't even see anything. Look at the lightning. No lightning.
How many strikes in a certain period of time?
We have to have an update for that. I don't have that right now, but there's a lot. Okay. And by the way, lightning's a killer. This is why you also shouldn't be outside. This is why you shouldn't be by a window. you can get hit by lightning and there's a problem. Even if there's no wind damage or tornado, look at all the live lightning popping up as we speak. Now I'm going to take it off because we want to concentrate on wind damage and possibly how things are moving, just to show you how this particular cell is moving and where it's moving next. Two things I'm noting with this. Number one, it's moving like this, roughly. Okay, and this cell is the one that I'm most concerned about. You're going to say, well, why that cell and not all the other ones? It's the velocity couplet here. You can kind of see how the greens and reds are moving. I know things are moving fast, and I'll just stop it there so you can see it. It's right in here where if there's spin, it's right there. And it's literally moving right over Senate.
How fast is it going? Do you know?
I can tell you that. It is probably around, give me 1 second here. I have so many pieces of information that I just want to be able to get that correct for you. That would be about east-northeast at 30 miles per hour.
And does that, where is that? I mean, that's a rather frightening little icon.
Sorry about that. Well, I was trying to indicate, I could zoom in a little closer.
I don't want to underplay it,
Right.
but do these things track? I mean, do you have timing on when that energy is going to be further north and further east than it is currently?
Yep, give me a second.
Yeah, this I always find whenever these come up, I always
Yeah,
say,
this is
okay,
really helpful.
put my town on there because this is where this is the information I need.
Roughly, that's a rough estimation. It might be a little faster than the start time of the worst. This is the start time of possible tornado or worst wind damage.
So just
Roughly.
It's 3:39 in the afternoon here, okay?
Right, so it's already in Brutus already.
Next up is Elbridge around 3:47.
Right, and that's just, I'm not talking about all the rain. I'm talking about that cell that's got the tornado, not everything else. Okay, so that's the way. And just to give us some reference here, you can see how things have been moving from Montezuma to Brutus very quickly, at least on this radar scan. I try to at least give you the best indication of where I think it's going next. So there are the towns.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a lot of our view.
Yeah, let's.
All the suburbs of Syracuse
And now really
Western
more populated areas.
That's
We
exactly
seen
right.
some up in the Adirondacks earlier, which are much less populated. So these are
Tug Hill, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in Western New York, where if you're just joining us, it was mostly, according to the Erie County Executive, farm damage. We don't like to hear anything about to our farmers and the animals, but we did lose some animals in Western New York, particularly outside East Aurora, in the town of Eden in Erie County, and some farms as well, but not populated areas. We're about to see that energy that Peter's talking about move into some significant suburbs of Syracuse.
Yeah, we have any live pictures that we can show you. We've been pulling this up across central New York to give you a sense of what things look like outside. We've seen a lot of heavy downpours. We've seen a lot of roadways that have just been saturated by all of the rain. Cars we've seen driving through them. Be careful, please. Where is this picture coming from, if we can ask our
This is the Port Byron Throughway West stop. It's very wet right now, but we don't see the raindrops that are on that camera lens moving a whole lot. So there's not a lot of wind right there, but certainly a drive on the Throughway from Western New York into Central New York has been a bit of a wild ride for people. I mean, they've gone through.
All right, guys, come to me. We got the tornado warning. They finally issued it. It's in effect for everywhere west of Syracuse. I didn't mean to cut you off because literally it just was issued for the space we just mentioned, which is areas of Onondaga County on the cell that we just mentioned. See the red underneath? I'll take the radar off so you can see it a little bit better here. See? Look at all those places in the red polygon. Get to shelter immediately. Basement, if you don't have a basement, lowest floor, interior small room, like a bathroom in the middle of your house if you don't have a basement. Jordan, Bengal, Oswego Bitter, Van Buren, Baldwinsville, the South End especially, Liverpool. They've got the west and south side of Syracuse too, by the way. Just wanted to show you what it looks like here before I put the radar back on here. Okay, this literally just in tornado warning for the west and south sides of Syracuse and all west and northwestern suburbs of Syracuse. Now I'm putting back the radar. It is for this cell right here, okay? And just let me take that off and put the velocities on. It's that same cell that we've been talking about for the past 5 to 10 minutes here, moving east-northeast right before. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say the Weather Service wanted to make sure that it got to the county border. I think I gave a little more heads up for Jordan Elbridge, because now you're right on top of it for Jordan Elbridge. Okay, so that's a problem. Jordan Elbridge, you are literally seconds to minutes away from the worst part of the storm. I looked at the interior of this storm, and it showed me that there was 40 to 60 mile per hour winds inside this right here. Just to reiterate, what I'm looking at here are velocities. Winds are flowing this way and this way, which typically means, and if they're flowing this way here, that means there's some spin right here, potential either for a rotating thunderstorm, and that can sometimes lead to a tornado. Guys, do you see any power outages?
Okay, Pete, let's get up to speed on the power outages for you right now. We have seen, let's see, across central New York, by county, we have in Oswego County, we have seen about 211 people who are in the dark right now. Not many in Onondaga County, about 28 in Oneida County. So the issue that we saw in Vernon actually earlier seems to have been cleared up just a little bit. But again, these have been ticking through. We have not seen extensive power outages throughout central New York yet this afternoon.
We've also seen local governments across central New York, to some degree, take a very proactive approach in sending workers home early today, to make sure that the folks who are wondering about their property and commitments, who need to pick up kids in Baldwinsville, who need to do all the stuff of life before this really, really juiced up and got serious later this afternoon, we're able to do that. And that's something that's really worth noting. That's local government throughout Cayuga County, closing its office buildings, into Onondaga County, doing what local government is supposed to do, and that is keeping people safe and keeping people and giving people the opportunity that they need to make decisions that are going to be safe decisions for their kids.
Well, yeah, and people have been sort of waiting on bated breath what will happen to my kids after noon activity or evening activity. I've actually been waiting throughout the afternoon, and my daughter's lacrosse game just got canceled. But these are sort of the decisions that people in charge are making that a lot of families have been sort of waiting and wondering on.
That's sort of the Stanley Skywatch camera over the city of Syracuse. Peter was talking about the lightning. So much lightning associated with these rounds of storms, this remnants of Hurricane Beryl that slammed into Texas, then made its way across the country. All of this energy now in central New York and in central New York over the next couple of hours.
I got to tell you something. Can we zoom in a little more? Now, what we're looking at there is Onondaga Lake on the right side with Destiny. On the left, we're looking at some of the hills south and west of the State Fair. You can actually see the State Fair buildings. You see that dark mass on the left side? That is very, very ominous. Almost looks like maybe a shelf cloud or a wall cloud, but it's just a little too far away to see it from this vantage point. But that's
a hook right there.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was so interesting, Peter, that you had to take the radar off.
Yes.
The lightning off the radar.
And took the radar off.
So that you could see the cell that is so problematic.
Yep. And can we come back to me and the weather computer? Because I did mention that the south and west sides of the Syracuse area actually have a tornado warning. How often do you ever see this? A tornado warning is in effect for parts of the city of Syracuse? I'm not sure I've ever seen that. I mean, they just, again, that's what they've done just to show you literally street by street who has the tornado warning and who doesn't. Honestly, I'd be weather aware even in the other parts of the city, including us here at 1030 Jane Street. But you can see the southwestern side has the warning in effect, and just to zoom out to show you the whole warning in effect for the entire area. There are other warnings, by the way, that are going to expire in about 13 minutes, including the one in Oswego County, the one in Cayuga County. But just to give you a reference point of that specific cell, it's this cell right here. That's the one that's the most, let's say, suspicious, the one that is potentially the most damaging. And again, in terms of where it's spinning the most, it's right there, right in there. I've noticed that the winds have been as much as 40 to 60 miles per hour with respect to that Jordan Elbridge storm. And just again, I'll take those little pieces of things off and just show you how things are moving in through here. And again, my guess would be if this storm stays the way it does, it's probably going to head like this. Again, assuming nothing changes, and they can change. Tornadoes can move erratically. Sometimes they make weird turns like this or this, but if it stays on course, this is where it will be going next. That's, by the way, why you have a polygon that's a little bit wider here, just in case there's a deviant motion of a cell like a tornado, which can happen. Right now, the area of concern is right in through here. Josh, you have any extra information? Josh Kozlowski, Weather Authority meteorologist. Josh, come in here live. What do you got for me?
Yeah, I just took a look outside. We typically do is a quick glance out on the deck. Just the clouds in over the station don't look all that bad. Yeah, I know we're kind of on the outer edge of where this is coming in from. But what I've been noticing, Pete, on this is that we've had these they're kind of being stretched out. We've seen also tornado warnings in storm clusters that have a little bit more of a almost like a spiral shell you'd find on the beach, that kind of shape. These are kind of being like, they seem to me to be a little streaked out, but they're still holding themselves together.
Yeah, we had a huge hook echo near Oswego earlier. That was the most impressive looking storm that we haven't gotten any confirmation. Let me, what else you got there?
Yeah, so I also think that in this case, it's unfortunate that there are storms, almost like tornadic storms, potentially tornadic storms, training of the same areas, and not to take away from the flash flooding potential.
Oh yeah, that's
not everyone's going to get tornado damage. There may not be any touchdown yet. We don't have a visual yet, right? We've seen some rotating storms. Had that video up from Waterloo, I believe, earlier that was shared from social media. So we've had some rotation with the clouds. But even if we don't get that kind of damage, we can get the straight line damage and the flash flooding as, being as hazardous, or not sometimes a little bit worse.
All right, good information there. And everybody needs to be weather aware. I'm going to just put, again, this is what was interesting to especially Michael Benny here in terms of the lightning. I mean, the amount of lightning, look at that. I mean, I had to take the lightning off because you can't see anything. Okay. And the interesting thing too, by the way, is that the lightning is happening on the north end of where there's spin. Regardless of what that means or whatever, you just need to take shelter right now in the tornado warning. And just to let you know, again, I'll take the radar off so you can see below everything. If you are in any of this red, you need to get into a shelter right now, basically a basement or the lowest floor of your house. If we can take the Regency Tower camera once again, that'd be great because it looks really good. Thanks for the heads up there, Josh, on showing me that. Once the director has a chance, he can show the Stanley Law Skywatch Regency Tower camera because it's looking pretty ominous. You can even see more of a wall cloud, a shelf cloud potentially there.
Rain bands, perhaps.
Yeah, if we can get the Stanley Law Skywatch up, that'd be great.
Oh, okay. Bring in MLK, who's been up in the newsroom with the rest of our team, preparing to cover what may come of this. That really is.
Yeah, and I wanted to get Josh in there for a second too. If Peter even just needs a drink of water, or the two of them. I mean, you guys both have the expertise to share this detailed information. This is highly unusual.
Yes.
To have a tornado warning in Onondaga County.
Yes.
And what's really changing the dynamic as we speak is the population available and number of homes available in the path of this storm, compared to perhaps some of the more rural areas that have been the focus of a lot of it, whether it was in Oswego County
or Western New York.
Western New York, where you have country roads, you have hills, you have farm property, occasionally maybe a trailer park of some sort, which is a high-risk area. And now we're getting into northern Onondaga County, where you have the suburbs of Baldwinsville and Liverpool, Cicero, in the next, whatever it might be, 30 minutes or so, as this is progressing through Onondaga County. Peter, I was upstairs in the control room and actually saying out loud to the guys upstairs, when is Onondaga County going to add the tornado warning? I mean, you essentially did. You said it's coming. It was obvious that it was going to come. It was only boundary by the Onondaga County border, which the weather doesn't know where they're counting on.
Of course not. You mentioned population. The amount of people just in Onondaga County that have the tornado warning is 111,947 people. There's over 100,000 people right now that have a tornado warning just in Onondaga County. And those people right now can come back to the weather computer, take this straight up because this is important to remember. Tornado watch versus tornado warning. We've got it right here for you. Everybody's got the watch. Warning right now, we just mentioned, not only Onondaga, but parts of Oswego, Cuba County. I really hope the emergency doesn't happen. What is a tornado emergency? I can't remember if New York State's even had one, but that is for a huge tornado to affect a huge population center. Let's all hope that that does not happen, okay?
Peter, we just also learned OCC, which is on Onondaga Hill, vulnerable spot, just closed. They said, we're closing now, immediately.
I think I've got information.
We're not closing in an hour, we're not closing later tonight, we're
A couple
closing
hours
right
ago
now.
now that the county staffers were sent home, city of Syracuse staffers were sent home about an
We were
hour
making
ago.
that point about local government doing its job in force when it comes to that. I mean, you talk about these areas that Peter is now warning for, the major suburbs of the city of Syracuse. Folks with families and homes and property and that they are concerned about, and getting those folks out of the city of Syracuse, where most of them work when they work for either local or county government. That's critical. Get them home and get them prepared.
Yeah, and it really is reminiscent of, say, a snowburst type of situation,
Yeah.
where you have 3 or 4 inches of snow per hour, and everybody's on board the city attorney, don't want that, but now is the time. And that's the other thing I was going to add to this, Peter and Michael, that the convergence now of this timing with what is typically the commute time home from, say, 4 to 6, 4:30 to 5:30, maybe more directly even, that's not good, because as much as you're saying, get to a basement, well, what if you're 20 minutes away from, your home base and your basement?
Get people home and get them prepared.
Higher profile vehicle, certainly just as the wind picks up.
You don't want to be driving in this.
SUV, you do not want to be driving in it, even if there's not flooding yet.
Well, right. You don't want to be in a down. You can actually have hydroplaning. And just by the way, I don't know if this was mentioned because I've been doing a lot. Syracuse University sent people home. Did we have that?
That is true. Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I just wanted to make sure we had that pass through. Yeah. All right. Do you guys have more information, or would you like me to review the radar? Okay, sounds good. Let's come back to the radar full screen here so you can see everything, as well as who's got the radar, who's got the warnings and watches. Again, let's all stay calm, and then we'll get through this. Okay. Here are the warnings. The reds are tornado warnings, still in effect between now and 4:15 or 4 o'clock. The 4:15 one is the Onondaga County one. The other ones are going to expire shortly in about 5 minutes. The yellow is a severe thunderstorm warning. The green, by the way, is a flash flood warning. And that is a very good possibility that some isolated flash flooding could happen in torrential downpours very quickly, especially because it's so tropical. The moisture in the atmosphere is so above normal. It is so out of character for this area, especially for July. Here's a look at that storm system right here. We're going to just zoom out real quick so you can see where we are. Okay, there you can see Onondaga County. This is the current storm that's creating the problems. Look at all the lightning. I'm going to take the lightning off, and then I'm going to put the velocity on. There is where there's still twisting with winds right there, right where the X is. I'll take that off, just I don't want to block the actual stuff here. And I'm going to show you what it looks like with respect to how things are moving. The worst wind or twisting wind right now is moving like this. Okay, so that puts the north side. Maybe I should I probably should maybe redraw these just to be sure. The north side of Syracuse, also the north suburbs of Syracuse. I know you're seeing the end of the warning is right there, but I'd be weather aware right now in Salina, North Syracuse, the northern end of Liverpool, even Clay Cicero and Collimer and East Syracuse, Manoa, just stand by, okay? Next up, we're going to stop this. And guys, interrupt me if you need to. And again, even if there isn't a tornado on the ground, this is a very strong thunderstorm that has damaging winds. Right now, heavy rain, and also put the lightning back on. Look at all the lightning right now in the Route 31 corridor, Baldwinsville, 481 and 690 and Route 48 and the Throughway. You don't want to be driving and run into some flash flood problems, or you possibly hydroplane and have an accident yourself.
Yeah.
That's what we don't want.
That lightning, I'm just now texting with a guy named Stan Prue, who a little more than 10 years ago was struck by lightning. He was a member of law enforcement in Onondaga County, survived the lightning strike after a long road to recovery, and I'm wishing him much safety as he's taking a little break. He's near a beach right now. I'll put it that way. I don't want to give too much away, but we're going back and forth about the threat of lightning because it's significant.
It is, and lightning, heavy winds, heavy rain is what we're concerned about. Peter, what descriptions do we have of the actual impact on the ground of the cell that we're looking at so far? So, in terms of what it's producing, we know what it could produce in terms of tornadic event, but what is it actually doing so far?
Again, where you got to wait for we've got to wait for actual storm reports because it's literally happening right now. But what we can do is give you some street names, and then you know what? First I'll do this, and then I'm going to give you that storm tracker because I know people like this. Okay, now we're really getting into the street level areas here. Okay, you see Camillus right in there. So this is where there's twisting winds right in this area right here. So Warner's the 173 corridor, roughly around where Costco is. Okay, you know where Costco is. The Township 5. Yep, Township 5. Here's the village of Camillus here. You've got Fairmount. You've got Salve and Geddes all in this area. Heads up. I cannot believe this may actually go over the state fair. Can you imagine this going over the state fair? Regardless of whether it's a tornado or whatever it is, it's a. Well, I understand. Yeah, and the amp is unfortunately in the path of this twisting. And by the way, I measured some of this wind in the radar on both sides. Even if it's not producing a tornado, it is producing 50 to 60 mile per hour winds at the very least. I can confirm that through the radar.
When you put the tracker on it, this is
Yep.
what I'm wondering, because I'm thinking about folks who see the tracker, they see, okay, Camillus at this time, Albany's at this time, Syracuse at this time, and then they notice that the scarier, I'll say, of the colors on the radar have passed over where they live.
Right.
Does the threat linger after that, and if so, for how long?
Well, there are other I'm going to just delete that one. That was a mistake. There's other thunderstorms that we have to worry about. I just don't want to do this right now because we've got like literally a potential tornado on the ground here by Warner's. And what you're looking at right now is the start time of what I keep hitting the wrong thing. I'm trying to pick this thing up. Give me a second. Here we go. This would be the start time of the worst wind damage and or tornado. What I've tried to do is the outer edge of that red, which is very bright near Warner's and near Camillus. The north end of the village of Camillus is probably getting hit right now. Another thing is if you are in the path of this, you need to obviously be, number one is you making sure you and your family are safe. That is the number one thing we want. If the storm is already passed, we've actually got our weather authority Jeep out here. I want to take this video. I don't mean to change gears here, but we've got visual of, I'm not sure which storm this is. Whenever we can, it is, if we can break that out, look on the right side of the screen. That is the storm in question. And I almost, if we can also change that to say tornado warning, that'd be great. Or have the breaking news lower thirds, because this is a serious situation. Once we get past some of the trees and maybe get on a hilltop, on the right side, that was a, Josh, did you happen to notice? Because I was kind of looking at three things there.
It looked like some darker clouds kind of come together there. But also
Okay.
some branches, random branches of the road that the Jeep ran over. So.
Yep. Also, the Regency Tower camera showing dark skies. That we have Weather Authority 1 with Violet Skybore assessing the situation. Just to let you know, she's not going to talk, but we've got her in position safely to monitor this. Yep.
We can talk about what we're seeing here. Get back to that part about tracking this tornado. Take 60 seconds, find your spot, because we need to let people know what the tornado warning and what its path is next. Well, Michael and I can do the obvious, so be weather observers for a moment. We do see even the pine trees are moving pretty swiftly right now. This is looking from the north side of Syracuse west, which is where, and north and west a little bit, if you want to be a little bit more specific, over Onondaga Lake from the north side, and now you're getting essentially the leading edge of that massive weather that's coming into northern and northwestern Onondaga County.
The Weather Authority was looking at that bank of dark clouds from the other side.
Basically, the ridge of the hills.
Right, absolutely.
So you can see that's a pretty clear line that's developed there. So there's a good chance, for example, my parents, our director Paul DeBrinsky, they live in the Bay Area in Liverpool. It might still be even slightly sunny there, or at least light overcast. You're kind of wondering, well, why do we have this tornado warning that includes our area? It's because of what's still coming this way, and if you're able to get a vantage point, you can see the clouds at this point entering into Onondaga County. But certainly that portion of Onondaga County, heavily populated out there. And we know that there are some rain and wind conditions on the west end right now in Camillus.
That's why reaching out with the information that you're learning from watching us on television, from watching on your phone right now, from watching on the computer is so critical, that you do yourself and your loved ones a favor and reach out and tell someone, even if it feels like it's going to be silly and redundant, because how many folks did you see out mowing the lawn today? How many folks did you see?
Take a look right now, Weather 31 has gotten into that heavy rain in Camillus, coming down, the kind of rain that if you weren't a used vehicle, you really wouldn't want to be driving in there to do, say, routine errands. Violet Skybar, what are you seeing out there?
Well, it's a yeah, Violet, it's the power of the rain. It's the sort of rain where the windshield wipers, as good as they are, struggle to keep up, isn't it?
It's attached to the
And it also, the green also very well. I didn't close the window in my bedroom or my kitchen this morning when I left the house.
We go by the fire department.
Yeah, 173, yeah, so we appreciate that live look. I'll let you guys regroup a little bit there, Violet, as you continue to look for the most intense area of this storm coverage. The tornado warning continues, and as we go back to meteorologist Paul Kozlowski also with us, some familiar landmarks are in the path of this warning at this point, including the baseball stadium.
I was just going to say, okay, new tornado warning was just issued. The airport just got a tornado warning. Okay, that was just extended. Makes sense. Remember, we were talking about North Syracuse and everything. I'll take off the lightning and take off the radar. It's the fastest way I can show you. They've now just extended the tornado warning right here. See this part right here? Makes sense. Right there. So all of those places, I'll take that off so you can see it. I do want to make mention right this second, because you mentioned right now, the 690 corridor between the Throughway and the far west side, let's call it the Geddes. Okay, Lakeside, Lakeland, and the fairgrounds are getting hit really hard, at the very least, by damaging wind, possibly a tornado. Okay, that is coming through right this second. I'm looking at it right now on multiple radars. Here's a look at the regular radar. I just want to show you the velocities really quickly, because that really shows the wind change in direction right there. Okay, and that is moving east-northeast. So next up, and again, just going to give you the, just this part, just, whoops, that's the wrong thing here. Just the possible tornado moving, where it would go next, is roughly in this particular area, roughly speaking. Okay, and those are the start times. I wouldn't wait this long to actually get to shelter. If you've got a tornado warning, you should get to shelter right now. It may not be a bad idea to just recap everything from a bigger standpoint, because we are obviously talking about everything. There are other warnings in effect here. So new tornado warnings. This is the one we just mentioned for North Syracuse, the north side of the city, Clay, Cicero, Bridgeport, over to near Lockport. We also have a new tornado warning for southern Onondaga County. We don't want to forget you guys down here across southern Cayuga, Seneca, Tompkins County, all have a severe thunderstorm warning. We also have a tornado warning up and through here. So might as well show the whole picture here, but you know what? I want to keep with this. This one's right in downtown. Josh, you have some information about SU that while I'm getting this all set up, you wanted to pass along?
Yeah, so real quick, Pete. So I know someone who actually works in the Ernie Davis building. She's the director for food services now, and she's telling me that other buildings on campus could close, but she has residents in that building, and they have to remain open, the building itself, but they have students that are staying in there. The campus otherwise could be closed. Other buildings maybe don't have dorms or food services per se, and just an office building, but the students actually in that area. She's saying to me now the Ernie Davis building is closed normally for the summer, but Shaw is open. So that is one of the buildings where they have students at this time, just kind of interweaving that into the other offices in the buildings in the area that have been decided to close and or staying in place.
Peter, a little more, and Josh, a little more detail too about this the latest tornado warning that came out, that the National Weather Service is actually saying to expect this kind of impact, which includes flying debris,
right?
Mobile homes could be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, vehicles, tree damage is likely. There's a certain level of certainty to those aspects of what they're anticipating by issuing this warning. What a powerful image that is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, so far, still north of downtown Syracuse, still north of the most densely populated areas in Onondaga County. However, still, as you said, Peter, before, at the time, there was 115,000 approximately people in the path of the warning that isn't even the one that now is going to be continuing for the next 20 minutes.
That is
now we're adding population.
Yeah, so I'm going to go talk about this cell that we just saw with a live shot, and then I want to talk about the Cuyahoga County tornado warning because I don't want to forget this one either. So the worst part of this storm, yes, it is raining very hard in Clay and Baldwinsville, but the worst part of the twisting winds is right in this area. It's basically held together. It's morphed a little bit, but it is moving roughly, maybe not quite like that. We can show you it better like this. Okay, you can see how things are moving. So roughly speaking, this is moving right over the stadium, parts of Onondaga Lake, North Syracuse, Salina, Liverpool. These are heavily northern suburb areas. Even if there's not a tornado, there's probably wind damage and at the very least, obviously all that lightning we talked about. I know we haven't spent a lot of time talking about the lightning. It's just because there's been so much going on here. Also wanted to focus in on this. This is now, we've zoomed into southern Cuyahoga County. This is Ledyard right here. Okay, Genoa, Venice, Locke. I'll just show you the velocities. This is very tight green and red. So that more likely than not, at the very least, is wind damage, if not possibly a tornado moving east-northeast. So these areas right in here between Scott, Spafford, Sempronius, Moravia, Venice, East Venice. I understand we want to make sure we cover everybody here. But with regards to the worst potential wind damage, it's from this cell right here by Van Buren, Edgewood Gardens, Liverpool, moving east-northeast towards the North Syracuse Village Airport, also the Clay Cicero area as well. Don't forget 41 if you're driving, the Throughway, and 81 as well, Route 11. Guys, do you have anything to add in terms of power outages or anything like that?
They're growing in Oswego County, but they're not to the level where you consider it a crisis at this point. Although being without power in this heat is a crisis in your own house, but we're not talking about thousands of customers in the dark. We're talking still in the hundreds. Let's hope that it stays that way. That's the latest from National Grid. Oswego County at this point, at my last check, seems to be the place where the most significant number of outages are. I say significant. Insignificant, we're talking about a couple of hundred, fewer than 300. That's the situation.
It is interesting to observe the phases of this type of event today, which is really, as Peter's mentioned 1,000 times today, it's quite unusual to have multiple tornado warnings across our region that continue for hours at a time. This is extraordinary, what we're going through here today. But then you have the weather system actually moving through your neighborhood, your street, your town.
And it gets real.
And then
it gets real, yeah.
And then you have the aftermath, like who did get hit? Who really got? Who has a couple branches down? Who has the tree on the house?
How close was it?
Who, knocked on wood, if we can find any in the studio, was injured or worse yet, harmed in some way by this? So we're not there yet to get much detail on what that actual impact will be or is on the ground, even as the storm passes through. We know there is some damage, but we don't know the severity yet. We have an image from Weedsboro. It's kind of going back to the Cuyahoga County area. Peter, is this where they still have a tornado warning in effect, or is this where the worst the system has passed?
Where is it from?
It's Weedsboro.
Okay, yeah, that's from the previous storm.
Yeah.
The one that has a tornado warning is now southern Cuyahoga County. You can actually see it right behind Josh and me. Look at all the different storms. You got one in Richland there, then the one around the northern parts of Syracuse, then you got the one in Venice, and then there's even now a tornado. This is just in tornado warning in Ithaca.
We're talking about
Yep. So let's cover it all. We'll start with Cuyahoga County because that's the first one that came up on my radar here. Actually, you know what? Let me bring this up in a different perspective. It's easy for me to control it if I have it. We zoom down to the Venice one, and just to show you, I know that's not as populated, but there's a very strong, at the very least, damaging wind right in here, moving east-northeast towards Moravia. To go back to the radar now, I want to make sure to cover the Ithaca area as well, because I honestly haven't even looked at this storm because it's been, okay, it'll probably be this one by Montour and south of Watkins Glen. Okay, it's not overwhelming, at least on that. You know why? It's on the wrong. That's interesting. Yeah, it's still got some decent rotation here. Not as strong, but the back edge of this one right here needs to be monitored. Right there, right by Moreland. It's far away from Ithaca right now. This is the cell right here. So we've got a little bit of time in Tompkins County because it's still almost in Pennsylvania here, but that is also something that needs to be watched. And again, let's zoom into the Syracuse area as well. We don't want to forget about that.
Bring us back to Syracuse, and let's also, we've got Weather Authority 1 still on the road. We've also got the standing on Skywatch. The cloud, the color of the clouds outside is something hanging in the city.
Yeah, and there's a wall. You had asked about a
very
both of these things. You could see wall clouds. You see right in the middle of the screen how it kind of just goes down. That's a wall cloud right there. We could also see it even better on the Regency Tower camera. If we want to bring that up, we have a chance. Regency Tower camera, whenever you have a chance. That is, we'll show you exactly what a wall cloud is after we get through that real quick. On the right side, see that? Right on the right side. Yeah, all the way on the right. That dark dunk looks like almost like a half rectangle there, or an obtuse angle. That is a wall cloud. And that's where you would suspect if there's something potentially tornadic, which would make sense because that's on the northwest side of where we can see from this. In fact, do we have the, I guess that's, I wonder if we can turn around. Can we turn around the other one, the one on Adirondack to look north? That might be great. If we have the Adirondack furniture camera looking north, I know we normally look south. If we could turn it around to look north, we can either take violet or we can take the radar, probably the radar if it's easiest. Just to show you where the worst weather is.
Well, Peter, let's talk right now about who is most under the gun in the greater Syracuse metro area. Can you walk me through that for a couple of minutes?
It would be right here.
The most concerned right now.
The most concerned in terms of wind damage and or tornado would be North Syracuse, the airport, possibly Mattydale. Next up would be let's talk about the Taft Road area, East Taft Road. Obviously, you got the DMV there. The village in North Syracuse right now is under the gun big time. There's also the possibility that the Collimer area and into Bridgeport. So the worst winds are happening right in this area, right in here. Okay, and this is still twisting a little bit as it goes over the airport. It'd be interesting, Josh, to see how strong those winds are going to be at the airport because that storm is going right over the airport. You should be in your safe spot right now in North Syracuse and northern Onondaga County. We can actually show you the things that you should be doing. If you have a tornado warning, we just mentioned who should be getting to your safe space and staying calm. It may not be even a bad idea to have you have a football helmet, use it. You got a hard hat helmet, why not? Also make sure you wear shoes. If your house has damage and you're walking out and you don't have shoes on, then you could cut your feet. So it's always good to have shoe wear, no matter what it is, as opposed to being barefoot if you're in a basement. Those are the things you need to do. Josh, you got any extra stuff?
I would just say, Pete, how often do we get a tornado warning coming right to your northern suburbs of Syracuse? Not often. Not often. Anyone watching tonight, anyone listening, the biggest takeaway is take this at face value. In an almost worst case scenario, you're going to have some heavy rainfall. You're going to have some damaging winds somewhere nearby. It doesn't have to be a spin wind. It could be a straight line wind. You're probably going to have some branches shaken up, and it's possible you could have some more power outages, you know, even if we don't actually get a real tornado. And that is not necessarily the highlight. It's just tornadic winds tend to be a lot faster than sometimes the straight line winds.
That's a good point. Okay, we have we have a Stanley Law Skywatch of either the Regency or the other one. I'm not sure which one we have. That is, there you go. I mean, there you go, guys.
Okay, we're looking right here.
We're looking north, right? It's got to be north.
Is elevation an issue too? This cloud is so tall.
Yeah, I mean, those are those. Thanks, Billy.
This is Ghostbusters level Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Not to really get silly about it, but it just looks monstrous.
This is a severe thunderstorm. You don't normally see. There. This looks like a Midwest. It looks like a tornadic type of or severe thunderstorm from the Midwest, doesn't it? You got that push from the left side, jamming those clouds straight up, and also there's winds flowing down from that as well. So do want to mention another tornado warning, if we can come back to the weather computer here whenever you have a chance. Didn't want to make mention of a north and northeastern Oswego County. You did have a tornado warning earlier. You now have another one again. So there's the big picture, just so you can see everything at once. There are 3 tornado warnings. 1, 2, actually 4, 3, 4. Those are the 4 we are watching. 4 simultaneous tornado warnings in central New York. We zoom into the newest one here. This is near Richland. I want to show you a velocity.
Peter, has that ever happened before? 4 simultaneous in your 25 plus years now?
I mean, that's so close together, but
30 years of experience.
Boy, we had once. I don't think so. I remember we had a bunch of tornadoes from Torrance south to Madison County. I don't think we've had 4, and then we've also had a bunch before. This is what we were worried about yesterday. I'm sorry, Josh. There, right here is where there's a spinning thing going through Richland, Scriba, Greenboro, and in a very similar spot. We had a tornado warning in this same spot about an hour and a half ago. Heads up, you're under the gun again. Now we go to Cayuga County. This does not look good when you get a hook echo like this. This is not good. This might even be hail right here in the purple area. Showing the velocity, you got winds flowing this way and this way. And you can even see the little twist here. This is Venice moving towards Moravia. Just to give you, I'm going to just get rid of these arrows and show you how things are moving. So you can see where the next up, okay, that would be Simplonius is next. Moravia, take shelter, lock. Right now, do the things we've told you to do. There's damage heading your way, maybe even a tornado. That's southern Cayuga County. Let's focus back on Onondaga County. Syracuse was lucky to be spared by that storm. That most of the city was just barely spared. It was the north side and the west side. You can see where it is right now. Velocity scans still showing quite a bit of wind action on the north end of the city here. I'm just going to try to get some new information with respect to, yeah, you can see the reds versus greens. What I'm just doing on a different computer now is just accessing the velocities. And right now it looks like, again, I'm curious, Josh, if you can look this up, a solid 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts according to the radar velocity just went through the airport, the village of North Syracuse, also from the 481 corridor north between there and the 31 corridor right now, seeing that kind of wind. He's going to check to see what the airport recorded. That is from this area right here. That is the storm that has the worst action right now. Next up is right now, obviously, we just mentioned Cicero and North Syracuse. Next up is Collimer, the Cicero Swamp area, the Route 31 corridor from the 81 interchange all the way to the 298 interchange in Bridgeport. You need to get to your safe spot right now. And remember, even though everybody has a tornado watch, it's the warning that is either going to mean extreme weather, whether it's damaging wind, rain, hail, lightning. Hail's probably not likely, but it's certainly tornadic twisting type of thunderstorms. And here are just one more time, just in case you missed it, what you need to do. The most important thing is to stay calm, like we are. We're giving you the information of what you need to do.
You keep mentioning the airport. I've been checking Hancock's site for arrivals and departures to see what the impact has been. And it feels like they're managing it perfectly. They had a couple flights scheduled to arrive like now. They got them in at 5 after 4. They had a couple of flights that were supposed to be coming in now that they pushed off, said keep flying around away from this storm for another 15 or 20 minutes. So obviously they're loaded with great information there in terms of the specifics of what they're expecting in terms of pace of the storm, the gravity of it, the expectation that the whole airport's not going to be swept away by the storm, but they're also smartly adjusting schedules, tinkering this here and there, so the planes get in safely. And you imagine being on a plane that is trying to land in a severe weather situation. So no need to do that, and they find other ways to do it. I'm also monitoring other cameras on highways, and I see a lot of people out. Despite all these warnings, and some of it, what are you going to do? You're at work. It's time to go home.
Certainly,
you go home.
Although we saw Weather Authority 1 with that rain coming down. We've got 81 north near.
It's near the airport.
Near the airport, yeah.
And so there are people on the road, although I would say the traffic is fairly light, no question about that. And so maybe some of those warnings are needed. Maybe it's a little bit time of year too.
Sure,
That's the
summer,
big vacation
absolutely.
time of year that the density of traffic on any given weekday isn't going to be as high.
But it has
And a
been,
little bit of construction too.
if you talk about wet roads, I mean, the rain coming down and Weather Authority 1's wipers barely keeping up on that powerful Jeep, you know what I mean? And now we've got rain falling hard in some areas. It's been dry for so long. We know what that does to the roads of central New York. You know, it's greasy and you're not ready for it to be greasy. So I really do think it's important that even if it's information that mom or dad or someone else that you know might say, oh, that's fine. Of course I know that. Just a little reminder about those things that we tend to forget about.
It's also worth recapping, and as you're going to tackle Peter and Josh here in just 1 second, the reason we're on is there's tornado warnings that remain in effect.
We got another one.
We take the air, and Peter Hall.
We got another one. New tornado warning. It's actually an extension of a prior southern Cayuga County warning. Now, those of you in southern Onondaga County and northwestern Cortland County, this is for that same simultaneous storm. New tornado warning until 5 o'clock for that storm for those of you here, okay? We still have 1, 2, 3, well, this one's about to end in 5 minutes, 4, 5 tornado warnings in effect simultaneously. Now showing you the radar, you can kind of see the storms here, 1, 2, 3, although that is also for that fourth one. Thank goodness it looks like the one by Ithaca isn't overly out of control, not as much lightning, but still need to show you all of this, okay? So here's the one that's right along the Oswego-Jefferson County border. If there's any twisting and wind damage, it's from right in here, moving north and east like that. Then we take you to Cayuga County, which has, of course, the warning not only for Cayuga County, but for southern Onondaga County and southern or northwestern Cortland County, which I just wanted to zoom out, be able to show you this, and also show you the velocity. So just to show you that, you can see how things are moving east-northeast with that system. And notice the greens and reds right next to each other. You've got the winds in this direction, twisting. So right here, if there's a tornado or wind damage or whatever it is, it'd be roughly between Moravia and Locke, moving towards Dresserville, Sempronius, and Scott, heads up Preble, okay? You've got to get to your safe spot right now, calmly but quickly. Spafford, Tully, you've got a little bit of time before the worst gets there. Same thing for Atisco. We've got to monitor to see if this makes a little bit of a left turn or a right turn, but right now it's in this area right in here. So what I'll do is remove all these arrows, and then I'll give you one of those storm trackers. Okay, so it's tracking like, whoops, that's the wrong thing.
And Pete, I can get some information too while you're getting that set up there. Basically, this is a review of this warning. It's in effect until 5 p.m. for southeastern Cayuga, northwestern Cortland, south central Onondaga County. Back at 4:22, which wasn't too long ago, about 4 minutes ago here, there was a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado near Moravia or 15 miles south of Auburn, moving northeast at 30 miles an hour. I would argue that's a kind of an, I don't know, it's a medium speed, not too fast, not too slow. Tornado possible and hail up to 2 inches in diameter.
That's surprising.
That's a big hail indication, or hailstone, right? Maybe about the size of like a chicken egg almost.
I'm surprised it'd be hail in a tropical system. That's pretty, but what they're probably picking up, Josh, is this purple.
Yeah.
That's if there's hail, it's right there, right near, like you see it right in there.
Which would be implies some violent updrafts.
Good point.
Supporting the stone as it goes up, it gets another layer of ice on it.
Yes.
Coming down.
It'd be interesting to see if there's any of that near and north of Moravia. But regardless, you need to be in your safe spot. We don't want you being outside anywhere in this. Matt and Michael, anything else to add?
Just Josh, really quick. How quickly do the official damage reports come to the National Weather Service and then trickle through that system?
Sure, good question, Michael. So a lot of times there can be a delay because sometimes it could be the people who get the damage don't report it. Sometimes they have trouble with power or a cell signal and they can't call. But usually it could be anywhere from, I've seen anywhere from a half hour to hours later, but sometimes it could be as early as 30 minutes. So it goes through emergency management and local police, and even New York State Police then tend to report it to the Weather Service. So it's not like it's always a direct contact, line of contact from an average neighbor at their house, they have a shed that lifted up to the Weather Service, unless they were using social media and tagging NWS Binghamton.
Okay, so
Or
they'll call from that too, they'll call from social media.
that seems to be the way to go these days with folks having social media on their phones versus a traditional phone call. Yes.
That's a good point.
I would also point out, Josh mentioned this, Peter's mentioned it, this current tornado warning that's going to end up, it does include southern Onondaga County, in addition to parts of Cuba County, is now been extended to 5 o'clock. Well, what do we normally do at 5 o'clock?
The news.
We do the newscast at 5 o'clock.
But today the weather is the news.
Right, so Peter's been on since about
9 o'clock this morning?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. It's like 1, something like that.
Yeah,
Might even have been
maybe
1.
A quick break and then back on
Yep.
a little before 2 and ever since. So that's been 2.5 hours. But when the tornado warnings continue, we're going to continue to be on the air on all of our stations. Great power to reach all of you out there. And then when those warnings come down, then we'll be able to start our more normal newscasts, which are also going to include a lot of weather, assuming that that the warnings are resolved in our area while our regular news time is still engaged between 5 and 6:30. So we're still here, and we have this image that we want to show you here right now too. This is some heavy rain on I-81 near Brewerton right now, and you can see the kind of driving conditions. You know, the kind where you go into that left lane, and suddenly you get 2 inches of water, and you're like, oh, I gotta hold on.
Or you're sharing it with one of the tractor trailers, and you're just thinking, my goodness, please, you speed up. I can't speed up. I'm
It's
just
like,
wiping
and
this.
some people are actually pulled over. If you look at
Yeah.
right perspective, right lane, people are actually pulling over because of the intensity I'm assuming, the intensity of this rain.
Wow,
Yeah,
look at that.
There are more people kind of, I gotta get out. I gotta get
But
out
this is why we didn't want people traveling through this.
This is, I can't see. I don't know what the other drivers are doing, and you can see they're driving through what is now suddenly standing water. We'll try to go back to that image. That's pretty powerful.
That level of rain in central New York on highway is very, very rare. Very, very rare. I remember that's the sort of rain you drive through in the deep south. You know, I've been on roads in South Carolina, and you think, oh my God, I'm white knuckling, and it's not snow.
Right.
It's not snow, but it's in some ways it's as bad or worse.
And credit to the drivers who are pulling over. They got their flashers on, and in fact, once they pulled over sort of as a group, there's a little more safety in that, so you're not perhaps part of a rear end collision with somebody who didn't realize that you were stopped there, though. But very challenging driving conditions. Again, the tornado warnings are continuing, and specifically, we're focused amongst several others on the one that's coming into southern Onondaga County over these next 30 minutes.
There are so many. Let's recap. Okay. Here are all the tornado warnings that are in effect right this second. Okay. There's the one that went through the northern and western part of the county. Now that one has been extended into Oswego County, Oneida Lake. You guys weren't around, but Megan and I were talking about people getting off the lakes. Hour or two ago. That's because we knew that this is going to cross everything. And now, right now, Oneida Lake is about to get, if you're on a boat right now, big problems. I mean, there's like 50-mile-per-hour winds, not to mention a ton of lightning. And guess what the tallest point is on a lake? You on a boat. That's why you do not want to be, right? Yeah, you don't want to be on a boat in a regular thunderstorm, much less a tornadic or wind damage thunderstorm. Okay, there are all the tornado warnings in effect until 5 to 5:15. We can line it up with the radar and lightning. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's take a look. We'll quickly go with this one because it's right on the fringe of our viewing area. But there you go, right there, between northeastern Oswego County. This one's a little weaker than before, but still could produce damage right on the Tug Hill. That's that first one. We'll then go down to the one in approaching southern Onondaga County and Simultaneous. This has got me worried. It's got me worried. Hook right here. Velocity. It's with the velocities showing you wind speeds that are spinning right there. That's not good. That is not good. At the very least, there's wind damage right now in Sempronius and Moravia heading towards Scott. And just to show you some motion of this, it's moving east-northeast. So the next up, unfortunately, this is going to be Scott, Preble, and eventually maybe even Tully as well. That's that particular cell. Now we go back further north. This was the same cell that went through North Syracuse. Right now over on Oneida Lake, heading towards Bernards Bay, Constantia. The Route 49 corridor is getting crushed. Look at all this lightning. We'll take the lightning off just for a second so you can see everything here. There is still twisting winds here. Winds are moving this way, over here like this. Regardless of if it's a twisting wind or a straight line wind, winds of 50 to 60 miles per hour at the very least are heading in this particular direction. If you don't believe me, we can show you some motion here.
Oh, no,
so
I believe you, Peter, because I'm hearing from people on the north side of the city of Syracuse. I'm hearing from people in Clay who are describing what they're hearing. What they're hearing.
Tell me.
And they're hearing terrible rain and very, very loud thunder.
Yeah.
They're not looking out the window right now, but they are hearing this. So I think it's important that we, for anyone who is watching on television, in a basement, in an interior room, not near a window, on their computer watching, I think it's important for us to realize how they are experiencing this weather. And it is frightening to some degree to hear it that loud, to hear the rain that hard on the house or on the apartment. And that's how people are experiencing.
That's a good point.
Looking back at some power outages, which you talked about, how do you know where the damage is? Sometimes you can follow the power outage.
That's a good point.
You know, and it does seem, as I sampled both NYSEG, which is Cuba County, West Wayne County. There are some there, particularly that cell that ended up in northern Ottawa County, just before it got into Jordan Elbridge, as Peter was forecasting it would, and it did. That's one thing. But the top power outage area really is this area around Sandy Creek right now that you're looking at. We have a couple thousand customers that are in the dark, essentially. You know, I mean, the sun hasn't set yet, but there's a reasonable chance by the time it does, they will still be in the dark.
In the dark with temperature in the house going up.
Right. No fans, no air conditioning, and the air outside. Maybe Josh or Peter can let us know. But are we going to get any heat relief once it passes?
Yeah. Okay. So
that would
yes.
be a plus, right?
Well, tomorrow we're going to be closer to 79 or 80. Tomorrow will feel really nice compared to today. Still humid, but obviously less hot. Would you like me to review the radar where the tornado warnings are again?
Please do.
All right, we're going to start you with Ithaca. We haven't spent a lot of time on Ithaca, partly because of all the storms. This one has not been as strong, but it's still something that is formidable. And we've got to watch this very carefully because this is heading towards Ithaca. Right now, does it have a tornado? Maybe. It doesn't look perfect to me. If this starts bowing outward, we start getting a hook, I'd be more concerned. It doesn't matter. Tornado warning is in effect for the Ithaca area. That includes Cornell, Ithaca College, everybody who works downtown Ithaca, Lansing, in Danby, and Caroline, just outside of it. You need to take cover in case that does produce a tornado. That's for the one in Tompkins County. Okay. We are going to actually go back. I don't want to show the tornado terminology again. I want to actually be able to show everything warning-wise and radar-wise so you know exactly where everything is, because things are moving at about 30 to 40 miles per hour, so things change quickly. Recap warnings only. Here are the tornado warnings in effect. 1, 2, 3, 4. The yellows are severe thunderstorm warnings for wind damage. By the way, this is a flash flood warning in green. All of these thunderstorms, you just saw us show a live shot of 81 pulling over. You're going to have hydroplaning problems. You do not want to be driving in the intense downpours. Here's a full spectrum look at all those thunderstorms lining up. By the way, while they're not severe, there are more thunderstorms further west. So we're not done after this scattered formation comes through, right? So here's the one heading towards Montague. Let's hope it doesn't knock out the radar site, but in this not as populated area, heads up for the Tug Hill Plateau for possible damage. We then go to the storm that went across areas, especially western and northern suburbs of Syracuse, now over Oneida Lake and the 49 corridor. The ride on Central Square all the way towards Cleveland, terrible right now. That's a heavily traveled road. Next up is going to be the Route 69 corridor. Is there any twisting of the wind? Well, there's still a little bit in through here, not as much as before. Regardless, there's a ton of rain and wind and lightning. Then there's the storm that we have been most concerned about right now, at least, the one by Sempronius. Might be producing hail near Spafford and Vesper. Showing you the radar and showing you now the velocities. Again, you're seeing the reds and greens right up against each other. So you've got strong winds, and you can see a little bit of a pink here, and greens going this way. So you've got the possibility of a twisting situation in simultaneous, even if it's not a tornado, it likely has damaging winds. Next up, for Scott Preble, Tully, Vesper, Spafford, Otisco, get in your safe spot. So just to recap, everybody's got a tornado watch. That doesn't mean you have to be panicking. If you have a tornado warning, I wouldn't panic either. Very calmly go to your basement, maybe bring a helmet, football helmet, something like that. If you don't have a helmet, no worries. Just protect. If you're in an interior room in a basement, you're probably fine. Stay away from windows. Thank goodness we haven't had a tornado emergency, which is a humongous tornado affecting a very populated area. Just to recap what you should be doing, make sure you also have shoes. We still have Megan Coleman joining us at the anchor desk with Matt Mulcahy. Do you guys see anything that you'd like to report from the news angle, from a power outage angle, from accidents or incidents that you guys have been seeing?
Well, you bring that up, and we're not seeing that so far.
That's good.
We talked about timing of how long does it take to know something bad has happened, essentially. And the power of warnings, the power of early alert technology. If you think about it, we keep talking about how we may have never seen this many tornado warnings on one map on one afternoon in upstate New York. But not too long ago, this wasn't possible. This type of alert system wouldn't have been in place. This technology with the radar to the extent that it is today, the alerts that pop up on phones, obviously on television, on apps, on our online presence. So early alerting is so powerful that we're hoping that this damage is minimal, and if it is, it's a tree in the woods that fell over, not a tree on the house or the person or the club.
Yeah, but all of that, of course, is possible, right? When we have severe
We don't know
thunderstorms.
yet.
Yeah, out there, it is a very intense atmosphere as we've been watching the radar throughout the afternoon. Meteorologist Peter Hall's been doing a great job keeping you up to date to keep you and your family safe. I was just up in the newsroom a moment ago while Michael was here, and there was an intense lightning storm for just a moment. I mean, literally, the whole newsroom ran over, and we're like, wow, look at that, So we are seeing big flashes of lightning even here now in Onondaga County.
I will say that there's quite a few, I don't know if it's lightning related, there's quite a few fires across Onondaga County that E911 is responding to. Whether that has anything to do with lightning strikes or not, it's something that might be also something that could happen. Just thought it was interesting.
Certainly, that is a possibility. That as I said, we're going to have to collect the information about what kind of damage. We're also working on talking to emergency management experts in the next 20 minutes or so, including the county executive and others who have their hands on the pulse of what are the hot spots that need attention this evening, who was damaged to a point where they need assistance, was the rain intense enough maybe in your area where you have some flood and basement issues that are of concern to you, that type of issue. And as much as we've been talking about a tornado warning, and Peter's talked about seeing rotation on radar, that we won't know definitively whether these are tornadoes till there's an inspection after the fact, and that requires observations on the ground to fully have that available.
Yeah, although as Pete has mentioned, what he's seeing on the radar has indicated that there is some rotation out there. So that is why these warnings have been issued for some pockets of central New York. Checking the latest power outages for you, they've actually gone up since I was here on the air with you just a few minutes ago. Now in Oswego County, about 2,500 customers are in the dark.
Most of those in the Sandy Creek area.
Okay. Yeah. And I've heard you guys talking before about how that impacts all kinds of things, right? From television access to air conditioning, and all sorts of things that we rely on. So do make sure that you are heeding the warnings wherever they do pop up. This has been a very fluid situation. When Pete and I first went on the air, what was it, Pete, around 2 o'clock or so this afternoon, we were focused on Madison County. Then that shifted to Oswego County, then Onondaga County. So there have been a number of communities across central New York where these severe thunderstorms have been moving. Watch for tornado watch for all of central New York, tornado warnings for certain communities in central New York. We've been watching some of the pictures that have been coming in, some of the video. We saw some video map from out in western New York, out in Erie County. The cleanup there now underway with a number of trees down, power lines, and those outages as a result. So we're starting to feel a little bit of the impact, but again, until the system moves on through and we can actually do an assessment and find out the extent of any full-scale picture of what has unfolded here.
Yeah, and one of the questions that I have for Peter too is that we know that a couple of these warnings are set to expire at 5, these tornado warnings. We're getting back into that window of, will there be another one as this rolls along? And what is your best guess for how long till this entire system, even on a broad sense, is it 3 hours from now it's all pushed well east of us? Is it 2? Is it 1? What do you think about that?
Okay, first off, let me answer that question by quickly looking at something really here. Scattered thunderstorms are still going to be possible through about 9 o'clock. Now, in terms of severe thunderstorms, I'm hopeful that we can get through the Syracuse. You know what? I would say through 8, 9 o'clock. There's still an opportunity of additional firing up. You can already see that on the left side of your screen right here. Granted, they're not severe yet, but these are starting to pop up. We probably should go over the warnings again and show you the update of how things are looking velocity-wise and everything else. So let's bring up the weather computer, and we can show you. There it is right behind me, the full scale. You can almost tell the worst storms by the pockets of lightning, right? Look at that. The one that's actually the least lightning is the one in Ithaca. So there's the one going towards the Tug Hill. We won't spend a ton of time on that. This is the one that's the one right this second that has me the most concerned, okay? So what you're looking at right now, you're looking at southern Onondaga County. The worst part of the storm right now is from Scott into Preble, right in here, and Tully. And not only is there extreme rain here, let's bring up the velocities, and I'll take off all these lines so you can see them better. So right here, again, we've got strong winds rotating in this direction like this. These reds are pushing away, these greens are pushing like this. And this has been very consistent in how it's been moving like this, east-northeast. So you need to take shelter if you're watching us from Preble, Tully, Truxton, Fabius, DeRider, Kyler, New Woodstock, Sheds. I know technically the warning is only effect for Preble and Tully, but my guess is some other warning is going to be likely issued next. Now, just want to make one comment on this particular cell because it's been moving east-northeast and not more northeast. I'm hopeful that this is something that doesn't go a little more northeast, so maybe we can have the south side of Syracuse, Fayetteville, Manlius not be in any tornado damage. But heads up, from Tully to Fabius and probably south of Cazenovia, so you got to talk about Eden, Lebanon, Atsilik, and Kyler, all of these areas. Let's be weather aware. It's the worst part is this area right in through here. So that takes care of that particular storm. The one that went through the north and west side of Syracuse, then went over Oneida Lake, has now come across the lake again, and now we're on the north side. So the Route 49 corridor, the Route 69 corridor is being hit very hard. One thing I will say is that there is very little rotation, at least with this particular radar site. I do want to just take 1 second to look at a different radar perspective of that particular storm from a different radar site to make sure we're not missing the potential that there may actually be some twisting here. Give me 1 second to line this up, and I'll be able to take a look at that one because that's one closer to the Montague radar site now. It was closer to the Binghamton radar site. When you're on the air for this long and things are moving, they get closer to other sites. So it's the one by Cleveland. Yeah, there's not as much twisting, which is good, but there's still damaging wind. They still have a tornado warning in effect for Bernards Bay, Cleveland, into Jewell and Camden, and up towards Westdale, with the worst happening on this side of it, right in through there. All right, guys. Yes.
I would let you literally recharge. We need some new batteries in the mic.
That's probably true.
They're meant to last for 3 days, but you're already down for 3 days.
Seems like it.
Feels like it.
Yep.
Hey, so can we update the power outages? Because we were talking about Oswego County just a moment ago, but also Onondaga County, which you may have noted before. 3,800 customers are now in the dark in Onondaga County, where we are located. We're in the city of Syracuse, not seeing much here, but Clay specifically, about 3,400 customers without power, a couple hundred in Cicero. So Onondaga and Oswego County appear to be the areas that are dealing with those power situations.
Yeah, and these tornado warnings have just flipped one after another as the storm has moved from west to east, almost like you have a map. You welcome at your house, you flip it over once, and then you flip it over again. You kind of keep making this trail across upstate New York, and that's what we saw when the tornado warning entered Onondaga County more than an hour ago now, and it. The second one that's in southern Keuka County and southern Onondaga County is still in play until 5 o'clock tonight. That's why we've been out here continuously when we have these tornado warnings. It is our obligation to be on here giving you this life-saving information, potential life-saving information to keep everybody safe. As we look at downtown Syracuse from a broad view, you can see quite a bit of rain on the camera, but you also see traffic flowing on 81 and 690, not in heavy volume, and we've talked about this a couple times now while we've been on, that sure, it's the summertime. It's getting a little bit later in the day, but normally you have pretty heavy volume as you approach 5 o'clock. We're hoping that people have either been, sent home from work early, like Onondaga County and the city of Syracuse did, close the campus of OCC and Syracuse University. Because look at this is Brewerton, 81 going north and south. And as the cars speed by, you see the water splashing up. As we checked in on this about 10 minutes ago, maybe 15 now, we saw pooling water. We actually saw some cars, Megan, pull over to the side. You can appreciate that when it's just coming down so hard, you just don't feel safe driving it. It's a good instinct to follow.
It's like a wall of water that
Yeah.
sort of envelops your car and can really inhibit your driving. Do stay safe out there. If you see any standing water, if we do end up experiencing any kind of flooding, flash flooding, you want to make sure you turn around, don't drown. That's the motto. I've been checking the airport too, because that the radar had indicated it was sort of coming right at the airport, sort of a beeline for it, and obviously that can always affect arrivals and departures, and we are starting to see some of the impact there at Syracuse Hancock Airport now. Hey, listen, if you are planning to pick up somebody who's arriving from Baltimore, Raleigh, Chicago, those have all now been a bit delayed, so do make sure that you check those the airport boards on your app or online before you head to pick somebody up from the airport. Also, a couple delays for flights that are heading out of Syracuse Hancock Airport as well. Not surprising, certainly the FAA and everybody that runs the airport has to make safe choices to get people where they need to go.
They seem to be very effective at managing it. Some got in a little quicker ahead of the storm. Some are going to be delayed by 15 or 20 minutes so the weather's okay to land, which keeps everybody safe and then avoids the more severe option of a cancellation or having to really reschedule. Just nudge the system enough to be able to get the planes on the ground or up in the air safely. So Peter Hall, right now we don't have a fresh tornado warning that goes past 5 o'clock.
Give me 1 second. Just was trying to do the 7-day forecast really quick for you. No. This is way more important. I just thought I might have had 5 minutes. No problem. We're almost there. All right, let me bring up the latest warnings for you. You can see the timing. Now, the warnings are actually, if we bring up the weather computer with me, actually are in effect until 5 or 5:15, depending on the warning. So the one for Southern Onondaga County and points south, those two are 5. The ones that are for Oneida Lake North and East are until 5:15. Those are how long those warnings, you can see it very easily there with the radar in front of you. And there you go. You can see all the storms. Syracuse, the city, got kind of lucky. The central and southern part of the city basically missed that first one and missed the second one to the south. That's just what happens sometimes. Anyway, there's the storm that still has a tornado warning from Jewel north. Again, velocity-wise, not overly impressive, but still a lot of lightning. And certainly you don't want to be outside in that one. And then the one that's at least the most concerning looking beyond 5 o'clock, because this is the storm right here. This has been the one that's got kind of a hook right there, a little appendage. This is the one that I'm most concerned about that probably gets extended. Okay, that right there, you can even see the radar couplet, bright green and bright red. That's bad. Tully, you need to be in your safe space right now.
So that seems to be keeping enough intensity that perhaps the communities directly downwind, essentially, are likely to get into their own severe weather situation.
Tully, Fabius, get in your safe spot. That's the one that's the most concerning for the next 10 to 15 minutes.
The one that's lasting for 5:15 is that one in that southeastern corner of Oswego County, right?
That's correct. You're exactly right. Like if I show you this is the tornado warning. That's one that's only in effect until 5. My guess, and again, I'm surprised they're waiting until the last minute, that a new warning of some sort is going to be, it'll be definitely issued. Whether it's going to be a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning, we'll see. It's not my call. I would put a tornado warning in effect myself.
Right. With all the data you're seeing and the history of the last several hours today, keeping people safe so far.
Matt, Pete and I were talking earlier today, 10 years ago this week is when we saw that Dudley Smithfield tornado that killed a 4-month-old baby and her mom and 2 other people in her home. So, you know, we have seen in our community the devastating impact of tornadoes and severe storms. So you do need to take heed, take the warning, get inside of your home, stay away from windows, go into a basement, as Pete said. Just make sure that you are, you know, listening, staying tuned, and that you know what's coming at you.
Yes, and we remain hopeful that the tornado warnings will stop, only because the intensity.
Oh, there we go. Okay, it just was issued. Yep.
As you said. So what is the latest now?
Yep.
What areas do you hear for how long?
Yeah, I'm just deleting this. Okay, this is, they put a short one right here. This, you see this red part right here? This is the new tornado warning in effect in the, I mean, literally the spots I just said. Okay, we can even bring it up right here so you can see it's until 5:30. It's for, it's actually the blinking box. Let me just do that again for you. It's that whole blinking box that you see. Now, with all due respect, we don't need to have the whole box there right this second, because it's really from this part here is not going to likely see a tornado anymore. It's this right here, the Vesper. You know what, let's zoom in for a closer look. Let's really get down into the street level area here. So we've mentioned Tully, we've called out the whole village here. So there's Route 80, there's Route 11A, Apulia Station will be next. If you live on Truxton Hill Road, Apulia Road, of course that's Apulia Station, and then you're making your way on Route 80 and Route 91. That's a well-traveled road that goes from Fabius to Pompey all the way into Janesville Beach. Beautiful area right there. You go up in elevation, gorgeous. You, and even Pompey Center Road, maybe if this gets even further east, Delphi Falls. This is from this particular system right here. Look how bright the green and red is right here. Tully, I'm really worried about. I'm really worried about Tully. I can let you know, by the way, that there's more power outages. Onondaga County is up to 3,900 customers affected in Onondaga County, and that's partly due to wind damage. Matt and Megan, you got some information?
Yeah, we have Sheriff Toby Shelley from Onondaga County on the phone with us right now, Peter. And Sheriff, what type of resources have you and your department been putting into this today to monitor the problems? And let us know what areas of concern have you found as the storms pass through?
And Sheriff, we have been reporting the power outages in the Clay community, as you just noted, that appears to be one of the areas of Onondaga County that's been impacted from a power perspective. What are your deputies reporting back in terms of down power lines or trees? What are they seeing?
Yeah, and as we look at the list of emergency calls for the sheriff's office, Sheriff, over the last 30 minutes, that does seem to be the focus of town of Clay. Areas near 481, Codnoy Road, Brewerton Road. What words of advice do you have for people to try to encourage them to be smart right now? What would you like to say to the public? Yes. Mm. Yeah, but you're not home right now, are you? Right. Have you heard any direct reports from your home turf in the Tully and Vesper area? Yeah. Right now, I think it's the time.
Sheriff, can you talk a little bit about those power lines and the danger associated with them until National Grid crews can get in to remove them? Because oftentimes, you know, when we have severe storms, people might be curious to venture outside their homes and maybe snap pictures of downed trees and that sort of thing. What kind of warning can you give the public about what they may encounter if they step out the door?
Yes, it's not always something you can see, is it? The hazard of electricity or the power line. You think you're okay, and that's when people get in trouble. Sheriff, we appreciate you taking some time with us. We'd like to check back in with you later. If this becomes protracted this evening, we'll let you get back to your work. We appreciate what you're doing for everybody. Thank you. We're sure that you will be. Thank you. Sheriff Toby Sheldon, Onondaga County Sheriff's Department, and certainly wishing well for his own backyard and his neighbors too. In Vesper, which is near Tully, as Peter Hall has been watching that area specifically, really, I mean, that 81 interchange in Tully is very familiar to all of us, even if you don't live in southern Onondaga County. Peter, what is your concern here? What you've been seeing on radar?
Yeah, Tully is usually known for when you get the winter, you drive south on 81 or 11, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, just some flurries, and all of a sudden you get into a whiteout of snow. This is a whiteout of lightning. Look at all the lightning right now in Tully. I'll zoom in. Just so I can't even find this. Can you even see Tully in this? It's
we're in the lower left.
Yeah, barely, right? Let me take all the lightning off and then just kind of zoom out just to show you. Again, we've got this hanging little appendage right here. That bothers me, this dry slot being drawn in, and this is a rear flank downdraft. Now I don't want to get into all the weeds of this, but notice how I just switched it to velocity, and I didn't even have to draw the arrows any different. You've got the red with the air moving this way and the greens moving this way. They're very tight, so there's likely some sort of rotation at the very least in Tully. Whether it's an actual tornado or not, I can't tell because I'm not right there. But you have to act as if it is one, because there's also likely wind damage. And this is also something that can be a killer, not to mention the lightning. Let me take, yes.
Your Stafford too. I know the county primary focus, though. There is a call right now, just in hazardous condition, East Lake Road in Stafford. Could that be?
It's from the same storm that probably went through.
Right.
So you're getting that there's on I see from the police.
Right.
That's probably from when that moved through.
About 5-10 minutes ago, I guess.
Yep. And just to show you how these things are moving with respect to the wars. Now, I do want to make mention, we're focusing on this, but then there's also all this, which is extremely heavy rain. Watch out, potentially flash flooding. There's that area, Route 174 in Camillus, that typically flash floods. And we remember the Tully floods from, what is this now, 35 years ago, 40 years ago, something like that?
Well, yeah, the mudslides.
The mudslides, right.
About 28 or 9 years.
Something like that, right? This is a hilly area right here, and all that water is going to run down. So let's be weather aware of flash flooding. I know there's no warning in effect, but this is extreme tropical downpours. So just heads up as a secondary, but also could be just as important in that circled area. The twisting motion is this, and it's moving in the east-northeast direction. I will take all of this out, and then I will put a little storm tracker on the worst wind and possible with respect to maybe a tornado on the ground. It would be in these areas right here and starting at those times. That's not the start time of the rain. That is the start time of a possible tornado or certainly wind damage. I know we've got a new interview, Matt and Megan.
We have the county executive, Ron McMahon, joining us. Ron McMahon, thanks for being with us. Tell us how your afternoon has progressed. The last hour in particular has been fairly intense. What kind of resources are you putting into covering this emergency?
Executive, your office sent out a news release around 2 o'clock this afternoon talking about how county office buildings would be shut down, workers sent home. It's a calculated decision as to, whether you send them home, what time, making sure that they can do so safely. What goes into those calculations to make sure that you send people home in a safe manner?
County Executive, what other type of county staff will continue to work this problem throughout the next couple of hours as the storm system pushes through? What kind of resources do you have, at least doing the monitoring before you dispatch?
And then just your word of advice for the public tonight. Perhaps they might have a plan. What would you urge them to do over the next couple of hours if they live in Onondaga County?
Executive Ryan, thanks for taking the time to join us over the phone during this tornado warning that continues right now. We'll keep an eye on what's going on in southern Onondaga County as we head back over to the City Hall. Thank you, County Executive.
All right, Pete, you're in the Weather Center now, keeping an eye on the latest radar conditions, the watches, the warnings. What do we know right now?
Right. We actually still have a tornado warning in effect for southern Onondaga County for that storm for Tully until 5:30. You see the blinking one, 5:45? I'm getting worried about that Tompkins County storm. I'll explain in a second because it's starting to look a little bit like it might turn into something, okay? First off, the Tully system now continues to move eastward. The worst part of it has, in terms of at least the threat of a tornado, has moved to your east. If there is a tornado on the ground or if there's just damaging wind, right now it's Fabius right here. Remember we said it'd be right on the Route 80 corridor? Yep, we still have that. Delphi Falls is next. New Woodstock is next. It is right now over the Route 91 corridor. You do not want to be driving on Route 91 between Fabius and Pompey. That's like one of the main roads. That one and Route 80, I believe. You don't want to go there. It's just not good, okay? And then you got Route 13 as well from DeRuyter up to Cazenovia. I know right now it's not horrendous, but in about 20 to 30 minutes, you do not want to be on Route 13 between DeRuyter, Sheds, New Woodstock, and Cazenovia. That's the one there. Now, here's the Tompkins County one, okay? We had actually earlier a tornado warning, and it was kind of borderline, and I was like, well, we'll see. Okay, we've got, this part right here that's approaching Freeville, and this is also Groton in Tompkins County, by the way. This has me concerned, okay? There's, you see right here, this has got like greens and reds very close together. I would not be surprised if this turns into potentially remember we had a tornado in the Dryden, Cortland area, I think it was last summer. We're gonna have to carefully watch this one. Heads up, we only have a severe thunderstorm warning, which by the way, still means you can get damage. Regardless if it's a twisting or it's a straight line wind, it's damage. Heads up between northeastern Tompkins County and the Cortland County Airport. So you take Route 13, Judd Falls Road, you go to 281, the A&W root beer, the whole thing, Virgil as well, Let's be weather aware in this particular area for that next system, because that one looks to be strengthening, not weakening, not weakening. It's getting stronger. See how it looks like a little, right here, this hook? That's a bad sign. I do not like seeing that, as well as seeing a couplet of bright greens and reds together.
Well, Peter, while you continue to analyze that, let's go to Meteorologist by the Skyboard. She's in Weather Authority 1 right now. She's been out on the road. You can see there's still the clouds as you look over downtown Syracuse towards the west and northern part of the county. But she's out on the road, and she's been out there for a couple hours.
Yeah, by the way, we know you've been making your way across central New York. Where are you now, and what are you guys seeing?
Another guy, Mr. Stanley.
Probably a quick question for you. We were showing some video from 81 in northern Onondaga County, Cicero, Brewerton area, where people were driving through some standing water at the most intense moment of the storm. Did you see any of that in your travels in that part of the county?
All right, Violet Sky, we're on the road course and weather 41 tonight. Violet, thank you. As we look live over Syracuse, the ominous looking clouds in the backdrop there, you know, viewers have started to send us some photos and videos of what they're seeing in their backyard. We just got a really impactful video that we'll try to turn around for you after Gaskin Road in Baldwinsville. A huge tree, I mean, this tree must be hundreds of years old, toppled over onto a home. The roots of the tree literally coming out of the ground. Shows you the sheer power of Mother Nature and those winds.
Yeah, Gaston Road would be between, say, Beanville and Clay, roughly. It's one of those areas we know that northern strip of Onondaga County, it has the bulk of the power outages in Onondaga County. The county wide, there's about 3,900 customers without power at this hour. But as Violet also shared with us, she's seen quite a bit of that storm damage. The county executive we talked to, the sheriff we talked to, said that's been their main focus. Cicero, Clay, back towards maybe Lysander and Buren as that storm passed through. But meteorologist Peter Hall, we've also been watching Tully, Vesper, and that storm that's pushed into southern Onondaga County at this point, where do we stand with that?
Yeah, there are two storms specifically that have me the most concerned. And believe it or not, it's not the one that has the tornado warning near Oneida Lake. It's this one and this one. So let's discuss. So you can see all of the storms. Listen, the one north of Oneida Lake isn't fun. I'll give you that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and even more back here. This is extremely active. So let's answer Matt Mulcahy's question. So the tornado warning that is in effect for southeastern Onondaga County and the extreme western part of Madison County continues. And you can also see how things are bowing out like this. So showing you the velocity, and you can see it. Here's the wind strong here. They're coming in from different directions here. So if there's a tornado, it'd be there. Even if there isn't, there is definitely wind damage in this area. So next up is the Route 13 corridor. We gave you a big time heads up between Cazenovia, Sheds, and DeRuyter. Same thing. If you live in this entire area right here, you need to be inside. And you have a tornado warning in effect. I would not be surprised if this is extended into the Nelson, Fenner, Erieville area. This has me really concerned. I'm actually, let me just double check to see that there's no, it would show up on my computer. I want to make sure that there's no tornado warning here. Nope. This, to me, is very, very concerning. This appendage that's coming off of this and the air getting drawn in by McLean. I mean, I'm going to take off all these arrows, and I'll even take off the lighting so we can see this better. We've got a lot of strong winds moving in different directions here, here, and here. Heads up right now in Cortland and Cortlandville. At the very least, you're getting wind damage. You might get a tornado. It's not a tornado warning, but sometimes severe thunderstorm warnings, it'll say tornado possible in it. That cell has me concerned. So there you go. We still officially, by the way, all have a tornado watch in effect. When we show you the warnings, that means there's at least a spinning thunderstorm with a funnel. We have had a confirmed funnel cloud in an earlier storm in Georgetown. We do not, thank goodness, have any tornado emergencies. I'm just going to quickly look and update you guys as I go back to the radar here. Woodard, which is like Clay area, has got wind damage, trees and wires down. North Syracuse, tree down across both northbound lanes of I-481. If we can get a 511 website possibly up, that would be great, because that would be, I'm going to investigate it myself to see if we can see anything. It's kind of tough to see, but there is trees down on 41 in both directions. That is a confirmed report near, it would be right by the, is that Northern Boulevard? No, Thompson Road. The Thompson Road underpass. It'd be right there. That's where the trees are down on 481. That's very close, by the way, to the interchange that has all that construction, by the way. We also had wind damage in Montville, numerous trees down on houses, cars, poles down. Moravia has trees down, Tyre, as well as Waterloo. One large tree fell in a home, injuries unknown. So there are already reports of even a funnel cloud. This is not in central New York, but just east of Bath at 310, there was a funnel cloud there, and also in Georgetown. I had mentioned that before. Guys, you have any more information, or you want to pass along?
Well, I want to remind people, we've been on the air, initially about 1 o'clock, but then just before 2, Megan and Peter were on specifically just before 2 o'clock. We've been on continuously for the last 3 hours and 16 minutes, we give or take a few, because the tornado warnings are in effect, and they continue to be in effect still at this hour. That's where we have the obligation to be on here, giving you this potentially life-saving information, as opposed to maybe you tune in for what you'd expect our more typical newscast. We may still get to some of that tonight if these warnings expire, or we may just stick with you here live for the next extended period of time while those warnings continue. But it's important that people get reminded as to why we're on here, and we apologize if any of the previous shows were interrupted this afternoon. So,
yeah, that does happen, but this is really important, critical information that we, as Matt said, we're really obligated to bring it to you. It is life-saving information for many people across central New York. You know, we are reminded of some of the other storms that we've seen over the course of the years. A devastating tornado in Madison County. That's 10 years ago this week, where a 4-month-old baby was killed along with her mother and 2 other people at a home in Smithfield in Madison County. Hard to believe 10 years have passed since that terrible tragedy.
and it does remind us too of the randomness of this. You know, these warnings go out, or tornado warnings specifically, for pretty broad stretches of property, of towns, communities that are underneath those warnings, as Peter mentions, and shows the polygon boxes and the arrows in the map, and you know, almost everybody ends up coming through it just fine. But we don't know exactly what moment, what gust of wind, what bolt of lightning will have that kind of impact that will be quite devastating to somebody. So far, we know Onondaga County, there'll be power outages, for example. National Grid services Onondaga County. About 4,000 customers in Onondaga County are in the dark. Most of those seem to be in northern Onondaga County, in towns like Cicero and Clay. We're also seeing a pretty good group of power outages up in Osceola County in the St. Pete area.
Yeah, we've also been watching the airport. Of course, air operations impacted by severe weather as well. We do now have a flight cancellation. An American Airlines flight heading to Washington, D.C. at 5:30, that was canceled for tonight. We're also seeing flight delays for takeoff and flights arriving here in the Syracuse area tonight. So if you're planning to pick somebody up from the airport, or maybe you have a flight, make sure that you are checking your mobile app for your airline or the Syracuse Hancock Airport website for the latest up-to-date information.
And these warnings continue at this hour. Peter, is there anything on the books right now? A tornado warning expected to go past 5:30, or is that the farthest out you have right now?
So the current warnings are until 5:30 for our tornado warning.
Right, which is the worst that we're talking
It is the worst.
Yeah.
I'm still concerned about this one, even though it's a severe thunderstorm warning. That looks to me that it could go tornado at any point. Whether it goes or not, I'm not sure. By the way, just as an addendum here, the tornado warning cell has been extended as a severe thunderstorm warning.
Yeah.
See that? Till 6 o'clock. So they did not think it was justified to actually go with another tornado warning. We'll see. I'm going to tell you right now, of all the storms that look, I mean, the one that they just said for Madison County still looks damaging. Okay. So it's right now over New Woodstock and on that Route 13 corridor. Route 13 is about to get hit very hard with wind and rain. The next up would be Nelson, Morrisville, and the Route 20 corridor, basically east of Cazenovia and near Eaton and north of Hamilton on Route 12B and Route 46, probably within a half an hour. So again, I could do a full recap. Would you like me to do a recap, or are we going to go to something else here?
I think recap where we are right now, and let me add, this is relatively good news when we've had an afternoon of tornado warnings.
Yep.
Where the next warning that follows one of those tornado warnings is not another tornado warning. It's a thunderstorm warning that's extended to 6 o'clock, the one you've been following, that's in southern Onondaga County and parts of Madison County right now. So that's at least an indication that in general, perhaps storms are starting to come down, but we're not out of the woods yet. So yeah, go ahead and recap, Peter. What are all the continued warnings at this moment?
Got you covered. Let's do it right now. So when we look ahead, we still have scattered storms in the forecast, even after the current warnings expire. But here are the warnings all lined up for you. The red is a tornado warning. The yellow are severe thunderstorm warnings. Let's hit up the radar so you can see where everything is. See all the storms west? They're not severe, but could become. You see that stuff? Oswego's about to get hit by a downpour again. We have a lot more rain to still go, okay? The front end storms are the ones that are severe at this second. We are zooming into the one that still technically has a tornado warning for Delphi Falls and New Woodstock. But either way, whether it's still something that's spinning or not, you need to be aware of Erieville, New Woodstock, Nelson, Cazenovia, Morrisville. That area still likely to get wind damage. Now, if you showed this to me, I'd be like, oh my God, Cortland's about somewhere near Cortland. This is a hook echo. I mean, this is a textbook hook echo with the velocity looked better about 2 minutes ago. I'll look at a different vantage point. Okay. It at least isn't horrendous, but it's got a lot of lightning and wind. So just heads up, whether it's a tornado or not, wind damage is probably happening right now near Cortland, Cortlandville, East Homer, the Route 13 corridor. Next up would be McGraw. You're looking at the velocity scan right in here. And here's the reflectivity. In terms of where it's moving next, just showing you how it's been moving just really quickly, just to get a gauge of it for you in real time here. Next up would be this corridor right in here for all of this. You're going to say, Pete, well, how about all this purple? Well, this is actually extreme rain and hail. And don't be surprised if there's some flash flooding in some of this too, okay? Otherwise, that's all we have in terms of anything with respect to warnings. Although, to be honest with you, these things are still looking pretty powerful with respect to, at the very least, a ton of lightning, a lot of rain, and some wind damage. There's the updated warnings that are in effect. I'm hoping that 5:30 warning is the last one. I'm a little worried about the Cortland County warning.
Pete, can you put the timestamp on it? Because I actually think that's really helpful for people, when we can show what time we expect the storm to arrive in their community next. We were showing that earlier as we continued our live coverage of the severe weather making its way through central New York. The tornado warnings that have been in effect for multiple communities in central New York. We have a timestamp.
Yeah, I can get to that. I just was checking out something there as I'm doing all of this.
We know the tornado warning is set to expire in southern Onondaga County in about 6 or 7 minutes.
Yeah, Megan, were you referring to the Cortland storm or the Fabius storm?
Yeah, no, I mean, really either. I just think it's helpful for people to be able to see where it will, when it will come to their town.
Right. So let's focus just here on this particular part of it. So that part, which would either have wind damage or a tornado, would be in this blue area and all of these places with times. You see that right here, right?
Okay, so McGraw coming up at about 5:30, for example.
Exactly. And you see all the other towns and in the blue area. I'm just going to erase this real quick. Right?
Lots of little hamlets around.
I was going to, that's a good one, right? If you want to just talk about extreme rain and possible hail, that blue area right there, you're going to be in for a good hour, half hour to an hour. So don't be surprised if there's some localized flash flooding within that area of the blue area we just drew on there, because that part of it, granted, it may not be the strongest winds, but it might have, it definitely has the strongest rain, lightning, and hail.
And this is really like the second dumping for Madison County. We were talking about Madison County at what, like 3 o'clock this afternoon. They had that tornado warning there. That was one of the first communities in central New York.
Yes, I don't want to say we're lucky yet. I'm hoping we don't hear about more damage, because these cells. I mean, there's even another one approaching Owego, near Binghamton, that has a tornado warning. So we're still going to have to keep an eye on this for our eastern and southeastern counties. I'm hoping all the showers and storms that are happening further west, which we can show you on this particular vantage point. I'll just zoom this over a little bit. I'm hopeful that the ones to the west of the 81 corridor are not severe. And we're hoping that because the temperature is a little lower, they'll just be rainmakers and lightning. But as Megan mentioned, that could bring the flash flooding threat up.
Peter, not to tempt fate. I mean, that's a good point. We don't want to say everything's over, but
no,
we can report on. We talked with county executive on it. We talked with the county sheriff, Tully Shelley, just before and at the top of the hour, 5 o'clock, and neither of them were panicked, essentially. That we're overwhelmed with reports. No, they were saying we have isolated damage. We know that there's some lines down. We know that there's some flooding, some branches, some trees. We talked about the Gaston Road. We know there's roughly 4,000 customers that are in the dark if it's still no power by the time the sun sets tonight. So the parts we do know are not nearly as bad in terms of actual damage compared to where it looked like we might have been heading when you line up tornado warning after warning after warning for several hours.
Okay, listen, for someone who has seen damage in their own backyard, for them it is quite significant. Let's show you what's happened in Baldwinsville. If you were sending us video of what happened in their backyard, I think we have that ready for you. But this is the one that we were talking about before, where this huge tree is toppling down on a home. The neighbor describing what happened here. Do we have this video? Let's take a look. Yeah, just part of what some neighbors are seeing. And there's even more damage that's come into our newsroom. There's another tree that we saw that was literally ripped out of the earth. You can see the roots of the tree.
This is Gaston Road near the Seneca River. He's mentioned the Seneca River there. And again, northern Onondaga County, which seems to have had the strongest winds, the most damage, We're hoping this is as bad as we see, that we don't see a lot that's worse than this. Although calls continue to come in Cicero and Clay, you can imagine how a given street, maybe somebody hadn't driven down it yet. Once they do, they say, oh, well, here's that.
Look at this. Look at this. I mean, you can just see this is a massive tree that has come up from the ground, the roots of it, literally.
Uprooted.
Truly uprooted and fell right on that home. I mean, imagine being in the home. Hopefully nobody was hurt in this incident, but gosh, you know, the power of Mother Nature.
Yeah, and quite honestly, there's some years where we would be talking about, oh, we've had rain for a week. The ground has been saturated. This is not that period. We've been relatively dry for the last several weeks, and so this is a tree that's, you know, maybe it had its own weakness. We don't know. You know, whether this tree is old, aging, disease, those things we don't know. But what we do know is the ground generally has been pretty dry, and it took a pretty stiff wind to knock that over today.
And do be careful, please, as you head out of your home. Maybe you're going to check out some of the damage in your front or backyard. As Sheriff Toby Shelley told us just a couple of minutes ago, there are downed power lines in some parts of central New York, specifically Clay, he's getting reports of. So do be careful, because those live wires are incredibly dangerous.
We're also seeing a few reports, emergency calls. We were talking about the storm in southern Onondaga County about a half hour ago, about Pompey. Some wires down there. Lockett ambulance responding to a car crash. You know, we don't have full details of how that was related to the weather, but that kind of adds up. What we were talking about with Peter specifically was focused on that storm cell passing through the areas of Tully, Lafayette, and Vesper, which just happens to be the home of Sheriff Toby Shelley. So these damage reports continue to roll in. There's more trees probably in that same position than what we've seen so far.
Yeah, the cleanup will be extensive. It will take days, if not weeks, for many homeowners to be cleaning up what has happened in their backyards. You know, we should remind you, these are the remnants of Hurricane Beryl, that terrible hurricane that roared through the Caribbean, came up through Texas, and Pete has been warning us that the remnants of Beryl, no longer a hurricane now, but the remnants of Beryl would be making its way to central New York. So we've been preparing for this for several days, and now we know what has happened.
And we certainly had the right mix early this afternoon when that sun was peeking through and temperatures were pushing over 90. A lot of heat, a lot of energy, Peter. You saw that it was going to create potential for damaging weather, and that's what happened.
By the way, it got to 97.
Oh, wow.
It got to 97. No, the record high was 101.
Wow.
But I remember I talked to Matt this morning, and we were talking about the weather. He's like, oh, it looks nice and sunny. I go, this is bad. That's
when the weather guy tells you this is bad,
you take the dog home.
You get home quickly and you put on your jacket and tie to come into work. But we appreciate that kind of alert, Peter, that you've given us. At 5:30, now is this good? Are we out of the tornado warnings now?
Yes. So technically, we have 0 tornado warnings in effect. I'm still worried about 2 different cells that at any point might still become tornadic. It'd be these 2 right here. 1, 2. They are severe thunderstorm warnings, so we don't technically have to be constantly doing weather wall to wall if we want to move on to something else. But since you've got me here are the 2 cells really quick for you. They both have a hook kind of appendage here, which you don't like to see as a meteorologist, because it means you're having the opportunity of twisting. I will say that the velocities, and they can go down and they can come up, aren't as strong, which is probably why they don't have a tornado warning in effect. However, they bear watching because of the fact that they're in still an atmosphere that could produce, especially for our eastern flank counties. I have a feeling, it's not a guarantee, I have a feeling that these ones further west shouldn't be as bad, but as soon as I say that, here comes some more severe thunderstorm warnings in effect between Penn Yan and Ovid. Now, I'm hopeful that these are just going to be wind ones and not tornadic ones. I'm going to keep you covered until this is over. Either way, whether they're severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings. But right this second, there are no tornado warnings in effect anymore. None.
That's the primary reason we've been on the air virtually nonstop for the last 3.5 hours, plus some more.
Something like that, yeah.
Before that. So meteorologist Peter Hall, thank you for everything you've been doing for us in the community today.
Thanks.
We're going to take a quick break because we finally can. maybe grab a little drink of water.
Take a breath.
Whatever else we need to do to kind of reset, and then we'll get right back to this important weather coverage as our news will continue in just a minute.
Thank you, guys. Everybody, thank you upstairs.
We're back on. 2?
Oh, we're not
Okay,
taking a
I'm gonna
30-minute
take
break to make
a
up all the
walk.
commercials we ran over?
Is he live? Let's do that.
I'd appreciate, assuming no tornado warnings, if I can just do a 7-day graphic real quick. That way I don't, wait, hold on a second. Are we coming back to me in this block? Oh, okay. Well, let me just finish the 7 days so I have something to show other than what I'm showing right now.
So what's Dale's where?
You talking to me? How many minutes would that be? I think we'll be okay, but just can you give me a 60-second heads up? Yeah, we'll be good. That's a Roger yes for me.
Okay.
Where is he? He's actually in Oswego, not just Oswego County, but Oswego.
Maybe we can go back to Violet too at some point.
Yeah, we might as well since we have her.
Yeah, good job, Pete.
Oh, thanks. You guys have been great. I don't even know half the things I was saying. I hope they were all right. Hope I didn't say something about a facial again.
Yeah.
We continue our breaking news coverage of the severe weather passing through our system. Mid-afternoon, Oswego County got hit. They had their tornado.
Yeah, that's right. We've been following Oswego County closely for you tonight. Our Dale Ostrander has made his way up to Oswego County. Dale, where are you specifically, and what are you seeing there tonight? What are we doing next, Rachel? You want to go to Violet or back to Pete?
Dale, anywhere else in your travels, did you see any storm damage? I just wondered if you saw storm damage in any of your other travels as you were getting to the location where you are now.
Okay, in terms of water level, Dale, behind you, what are you seeing there?
Well, thank you, Dale Ostrander, live on the shore of Lake Ontario in Oswego right now. We appreciate that up-to-the-minute report of these getting soaked by what is essentially the second wave of this storm coming through. Meteorologist Peter Hall joins us once again. Peter, we've been talking, I know you got more to talk about that's very immediate, but also, what's the weather tomorrow? Or the next day?
It'll kind of feel, I don't want to say fallish, but kind of cloudy and drizzly. It's going to feel a lot different than today's 97. This just in, though, a new tornado warning for our eastern flank counties, and it is one of those two storms we were watching. Here's a broad overview of just the warning. So the new tornado warning is for Madison County. That was the same storm that went from Sempronius to Tully. Remember that one? It's the same one that continues to move east-northeast. I do want to make mention, besides the severe thunderstorm warning, there are new warnings here for the central and southern Finger Lakes for severe thunderstorms. So we're not completely done yet. Full view. I know Syracuse right now isn't seeing anything, but there are storms all over the place back here that still have to come through. I can't completely rule out that one of these stronger cells might even move into the Syracuse area. Zooming in for a closer look, we look at both cells, but obviously we want to zoom in to this one. This is the one that has the tornado warning in effect. So you see all the lightning, you see the Route 20 corridor. We called out the Route 20 corridor. We called out Nelson and Morrisville earlier as potentially seeing something strong or severe. So in terms of velocity, it's not overwhelming, but it was good enough for the National Weather Service. There's strong winds here, damaging winds certainly. East of Nelson, just went through Nelson. Next up would be Pratt's and Oriskany Falls. Less wind on this side, but it is in this direction. So if there is any tornado, it'd be right about in there, moving east-northeast. So goodness, could you believe it'd be Smithfield, Megan, if it would be Smithfield again?
Oh.
Smithfield has a tornado warning in effect.
Wow.
That's just... Anyway, then there's the other one, which I know I overshot this radar view because it moved, but still got to keep an eye on this cell. That was the cell that I said around Ithaca and then Cortland was interesting. It still has this hanging little appendage. It has the strong hail. It's got the lightning on the north side. It's got this air moving in like this. The velocity is not overwhelming, but we have to keep an eye on this as it moves into Madison County, because earlier Georgetown, which is right here, had a confirmed funnel cloud, and that's where that storm is heading. Where do we go next? Still scattered showers and storms at 8 o'clock. Then it'll quiet down to more like lighter showers. Tomorrow, essentially a mostly cloudy day in the 70s with passing showers and sprinkles. There might be a break of sun to briefly get downtown to near 80, but more often than not, it is a 70s cloudy, crummy kind of day, but it's a quiet day. No weather alerts happening with respect to thunderstorms tomorrow. Notice Friday morning, we get rid of the rain, most of the clouds. There's going to be some clearing, so let's watch for some areas of fog. That's actually what you're seeing right in here. Why? Because we just took a ton of rain, which I want to piggyback off of what Matt said. That tree down, you typically see that at the end of a winter into spring. It's so clay, we have clay soils, it's wet, so then you get a little wind. We have had hardly any rain recently, so the fact that a tree was uprooted, even if it was damaged, is saying something. Anyway, fog gives way to a mix of sun and clouds on Friday. Friday afternoon's temperature should be in the lower to middle 80s, so a beautiful afternoon Friday. And then as we look ahead to the weekend, we'll keep an eye on a couple of systems, one south and east, and probably missing us by the Roscoe Diner into the Albany area and Capital District. Also notice Niagara Falls. So we're kind of in between those two Friday night, Saturday morning. Saturday, mixed sun and clouds. We're near 90 with a chance of an afternoon thunderstorm. Here's that fresh 7-day forecast for you. So after a rather cloudy, drizzly Thursday, Friday, fog in the morning, then sun and clouds, 85. Saturday, mixed sun and clouds, a scattered afternoon thunderstorm near just under 90. Sun and clouds, lower chance of thunderstorm. That's why I just have the lightning bolt there. But then Monday looks like a day with more in the way of showers and storms. And notice those temperatures after tomorrow being cooler, staying on the very warm to hot side, guys.
Yeah, we got to go through tornado warning. So we're still going to track that until it expires and hope we don't get yet another.
Okay, so we've been tracking the power outages for you throughout the afternoon, and as expected, we are seeing more of them. In Onondaga County, the number is now up to 4,600. This is an area, Onondaga County, that has been affected a lot by these power outages. Specifically, the Clay area has been seeing quite a few. Also in Portland County, they are now starting to report a number of power outages. About 1,600 people are in the dark in Portland County. About 485 in Oneida County, and we continue to scan the area to see where the lights are out. But a number of folks, unfortunately, on a very hot night are dealing with no power.
Yeah, we also like to monitor NYSEG's locations too, and they also in Peter County, Wayne County, there's several hundred, 1,000 customers also without power. There's storms came from the west to the east and continue to progress. Meteorologist Peter Hall, tell us more about the current warning, where it stands, how long it's going to last, and who is weakest.
Okay, just loading in the freshest information to let you know about that storm, the tornado warned storm. Here you go. It's still in effect for central and southern Oneida and central Madison County. That's the red. There are still some severe thunderstorm warnings for Cortland, Shenango, and southeastern Onondaga County. I know you can't see it, but Seneca County, southwestern Cuba, and much of Yates County also has a severe thunderstorm warning for the possibility of just damaging wind. And by the way, other than Lewis County, there's technically no flash flood warnings in effect, but this intense type of downpour situation can create quick flash flooding in spots, especially flood-prone areas. Overview to show you everything. Do you see there's still scattered storms over the Finger Lakes and even western New York? So even when the warnings are done, we still have the opportunity of other thunderstorms. We zoom in now to the storm that has the tornado warning. It is right now, my goodness, right over Smithfield. You can't even see it because the lightning is covering it. I'll now show the velocity scan, and it is, I can measure the winds for you on a different system. It's just faster for me to do it this way. In Morrisville right now, according to the radar, now granted, it is looking up into the clouds, but on the northwest side of Morrisville, on, let's see, I can't read what that is, but the northwest side is getting 60-mile-per-hour winds. That's this area right here. Very strong winds. Likely some damage happening right now between Smithfield and Morrisville, and that's moving east-northeast. So you guys need to take shelter right now, between Smithfield, Morrisville, Pratt's, the Route 46 corridor between Stockbridge, Pine Woods, and Pratt's as mentioned, and then holding together for the Oriskany Falls, Augusta, Route 26 corridor, potentially as far northeast as Deansboro. I know that's almost out of our viewing area, but we have people and friends and family there. Now, I know technically we still have a tornado warning for Fenner, but this is likely out of getting any tornado situation, but there's still heavy rain. We're also still watching. You see how there's a twist here with this arrow? This thing is still questionable. It might go tornado at any point. Right now, it is still a severe thunderstorm warning. That would be for the DeRuyter, Lincoln, Truxton area. We'll zoom in for a closer look. Guyler Hill, Kyler, Georgetown, Mariposa. We'll throw on some velocities. Thank goodness the velocity scan is not overwhelming. It does show small rotation in here that we'll have to keep an eye on. And that kind of lines up with this appendage. So we need to be very careful right in through here, even though there's no tornado warning for the Lincoln, Guyler Hill area, the Mariposa, Rhode Island area. I've never heard of Rhode Island other than the state. And Georgetown. By the way, possible flash flooding between Georgetown, DeRuyter, and Guyler Hill. We've got Violet Skybor, our meteorologist in Weather Authority 1. I'm not sure where you are, Violet, but tell us where you've been, where you are now, and what you've seen.
Great, drop that CG, there's a typo. Guys, there's a typo in that CG.
You say it fast, conditions.
What do you want to do next? I mean, yeah, I was just gonna say, Violet, you can see from your live camera there, things look fine where she is in that particular spot at the moment. It's a fluid situation, obviously, as the storms make their way through.
Yeah, the latest tornado warning is in the area with not heavy population, but again, as Megan pointed out a couple times, if it's your backyard, it's a big deal. So we're going to stay on that tornado warning and give people the very latest details that they need.
Yeah, Pete was talking about the Smithfield, Madison County area. That was the site of a deadly tornado. This was 10 years ago this week. Where a 4-month-old baby was killed, her mother and 2 other people. That was on Goff Road. So you do need to heed the warnings.
This is a webcam video, or piece of video we're looking at from SUNY Oswego's campus, which we use from time to time. We're looking north to Lake Ontario, where you can still see, you can't quite see Gale Ocean at the shoreline.
He's back there.
But he was back. He was right on the edge of the water, more towards downtown and the harbor. And you can see the clouds that were producing the rain that he was standing under. This is, again, kind of the second wave of this storm system that's been pushing through the last several hours. It was earlier in the afternoon, mid-afternoon, when Oswego County had its own share of tornado warnings. And that led to, it's a hard haul webcam, by the way, led to significant power outages in the last I've seen.
Yeah, and as Dale showed us in his live broadcast just a few minutes ago, it was raining pretty hard. It was very cloudy, and that iconic lighthouse that we all know, you couldn't even see it off in the distance. So it gave us some good perspective as to what they were experiencing on the shoreline of Lake Ontario tonight.
Just Peter Hall, we do have a tornado warning that's outstanding. We want to get back to that. That's why we're on the air continuously after all. So what's the latest on the movement of that storm? Where are your specific areas of concern?
Yeah, and there's a different storm chaser that does storm chasing in Tornado Alley that's actually on that storm. And there's no tornado, at least on the ground from what I can see, but there's some wall clouds, there's some low-hanging clouds that could produce a rotating funnel cloud or tornado at any time. That's with this storm that has a tornado warning for eastern Madison and southern Oneida counties. Now, the other yellow polygons are severe thunderstorm warnings that, besides lightning and possible flash flooding, may also produce some wind damage. So let's analyze. So here's the full view. You can see there are still thunderstorms to our west, so there's still more to go in here. That's why we need to at least be weather aware, especially if you've had a spot with a lot of heavy rain already, that flash flooding might become an issue. We now zoom into the tornado warned storm. Telltale sign, a couple of things. Number one, a ton of lightning, which you see here, but I'm going to take the lightning off so you can see everything else a little bit better. Another telltale sign, you get this hook here, and then you kind of have this flank situation here where it kind of looks like that. And the velocities, still very strong winds here. There's no couplet, although there's a little bit here. Still very strong winds on the Route 46 corridor. Even if it's not producing a tornado, there's likely wind damage right in through here, heading towards Augusta, Oriskany Falls next. Obviously, that's in Oneida County. And potentially as far east, not only is the Route 26, Route 12B, and Route 12 corridors. So between Oriskany Falls, Deansboro, Franklin Springs, as well as Paris and Sangerfield, maybe even as far north and east as New Hartford, Westmoreland. Outside chance, maybe Utica, we'll see. Other than that, we still have that other storm that has a severe thunderstorm warning that continues to look suspect. And thank goodness it hasn't gotten stronger velocity-wise, because, again, that telltale hook here, flank situation here, the hail on the north end, velocities not that strong, thank goodness. But there still could be some wind damage. So let's worry about that for Mariposa and Otselic. Possible flash flooding from Kyler to DeRuyter in Georgetown and Lebanon. So that takes care of that. And that's the latest with respect to the tornado warning and the severe thunderstorm warnings. I do want to make mention that this purple area up here by Lowville, I know it's technically sort of outside our viewing area. The National Weather Service has reported numerous flash flooding already in Lowville. Flash floods all over the place in Lowville. Numerous reports of severe flash flooding there. And if you missed it, there was actually a tornado on the ground for sure in southwestern New York that we have video of. If you want to see that, you can go to my Twitter at Pete Weatherbeat if you want to see some of that, some information and video about that, guys.
Well, we appreciate that, Peter. And that tornado warning is, again, we're talking about like the schedule is at this point. Scheduled to go until 6 o'clock tonight, which would be 8 or 9 minutes at this point. But we talked about that before at 5 or 5:30. If that one expires and another one starts, where does the risk lie ahead? Maggie, your question with Peter was terrific. When you can see, oh, that's my hometown, that's where my house is, that's where I'm heading tonight, and it's right in the path of the storm.
Yeah, the video that we saw at Baldwinsville, which hopefully we can bring up again at some point, but it really just showed the devastation that can come in the wake of these storms. A tree literally ripped out of the earth. And that's what many neighbors across Central New York will likely be finding when the storms make their way through. Tree companies will likely be very busy in the coming days, and neighbors helping neighbors. That's the great thing about this community. A lot of people will pitch in and bring their tools to help. Let's take a look at some video that came into us of the devastation in Baldwinsville.
Indeed it did. It came right down, and most of the complaints, the calls to emergency services, to 911 center have been about trees down, some power lines down, some minor water problems in terms of flooding in streets, although nothing too severe to report. We, at 5 o'clock tonight, we have talked to the county sheriff, Toby Shelley, also county executive Brian McMahon, and they had not had reports of like one area that was very severe, that was catastrophic, let's put it that way.
But damage scattered across the area, specifically.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they were concerned at the time about a storm system moving from Stafford, Vesper, Tully, Pompey, ultimately where we know that there was some damage there. Meteorologist Peter Hull, we can get back to you though, because we do still have an active tornado warning. Anything else flipping to red where we need to be concerned about another tornado warning at this time?
Well, at this second, I'm still concerned about that one that's entering Madison County again, the one that's been all the way from Ithaca and actually Watkins Glen and went right like this all the way up to here. Still watching this cell. Thank goodness it hasn't taken advantage of the velocities that it could, because it's set up to do that. Thank goodness it hasn't. We also have other severe thunderstorm warnings there in Seneca County, right in the middle of the Finger Lakes. That's more for a wind damage type thing. And also, I really would be, if you're in a flood-prone area and you took a lot of rain in any of these storms, I can't tell you who has gotten what with respect to how much rain, but I can actually attempt to answer that question right this second. Really, just give me 2 seconds. So some of the heaviest rain that I'm seeing just via radar went through Ledyard, Spafford, Otisco, Lafayette, north of Tully, between Fabius and Pompey on the Route 91 corridor, and Cazenovia, Fenner, and Stockbridge. That's basically one area that saw as much as 2 inches of rain, even 3 inches. Another area is the Route 13 corridor between Truxton, Cuyler, and DeRuyter. That area saw a lot of rain. I also want to be aware of rain that went through Baldwinsville, as well as Clay. Yes, it's not doing anything right now, but if you guys get another round of extreme downpours, which to me looks to be on the way, let's be weather aware of possible flash flooding in those areas mentioned. I'll mention them again because you guys took a lot of rain. North of Weedsport, north of Port Byron, near Jones Point, over Baldwinsville, really right over this entire village, the Radisson area, Moyers Corners, Clay, Youngs, Brewerton, Big Bay, and Constantia. Why am I calling out these places? Those places took 2 to 3 inches of rain. Okay, that's a lot of rain. Look what's coming. That's not good. See, we may be transitioning ourselves into a flash flooding situation. There are no flash flood warnings right now for Syracuse or any of the immediate central New York area. The only flash flood warning is for the Lewis County, Lowville area, where I can confirm to you that there are flash flooding, serious situations going on right there. We've got less than 5 minutes. We got about 3.5 minutes on this tornado warning left, and it's almost, by the way, going to exit our viewing area. But you still got to be in your safe space from Augusta to Kirkland and probably south of Westmoreland. Heads up, New Hartford, you're just outside the warning. So are you in Utica, and also that's technically outside our viewing area. But those of you that have friends and family there, be weather aware, guys.
Pete, are you able to zoom out to show us what else is off to the west?
Sure.
We're seeing these lines of these thunderstorms, but is there more behind it, or is it what we're seeing on our screen and then we're good?
Right. So overall, once this comes through, roughly-ish, then we should see things calm down. Now, there may be some late night showers later, but I think once we get past probably 9, I think I've been calling out 9 o'clock for most of the 81 corridor west, 9 at 10 at most, maybe. That's when we can get out of this. But that, of course, means there's another 3 hours of downpours in spots, not raining every single minute everywhere. But you can see that we've got different storms still to go through. So I think the worst is the next 2 to 3 hours.
2 or 3 lines more of storms.
It depends. Well, I can't. Well, right, because if you pick out Ithaca,
The motion's not just one straight line.
no.
That's right.
So I'm worried about those places I called out, because I called out basically this line here and this line here. Especially, all of this is heading right for that area that had the extreme rain, and that actually was a spot that had flash flooding. I want to say, was it last year? Baldwinsville had a lot of flash flooding. Was that last year?
I don't know.
Or was it 2 years ago? There was like 11 inches of rain in like.
Tornado watch.
Right. You know what? I want to get an update on that, because I know the tornado watch was okay. So, yeah, it did eliminate Wayne and Ontario County, but yes, because I wanted to check this. We still have that tornado watch in effect until 9 o'clock. Every spot except Wayne and Ontario County, which was canceled. So yes, all these storms still have an opportunity for flash flooding, damaging wind, and maybe a spin up of a tornado. Yes. Yep. Okay, hold on a second, guys, because there was just a new tornado warning. My guess is that it's probably outside our viewing area. Okay, no, that's interesting. Far northeastern Oneida County. Okay, well, yes, but not the same one. It was the same system from a long time ago. It was the one that, remember the one that went through Baldwinsville, and this one, that's the one for this one here. That's what that is, and I can actually just quickly zoom up there if you give me 2 seconds. Okay, we're going to go way up here. Granted, it's like Woodgate, Forestport, the Route 28 corridor. I understand. It's not a lot of people up there. Let me look at a different radar site. Exactly right. Yeah, let me use a different radar perspective, because it's closer to that Forestport area. It'll have a better perspective of it, which is right here. And then when I put this right back into play mode, I can very easily switch from back and forth. So just give me a second. Yeah, that has been a consistent thing. Yep, 100%. And you can actually, if you didn't have the radar, you can just have the lightning looking at it, you can actually see where the worst storms are. So here we go. This is that tornado warning for northeastern Oneida County, and we'll put the velocity on there for you. See, now that's not good. Right here, this is bad. I'm gonna have to describe this.
Peter, we want to interrupt you just for a second. We actually have Congressman Brandon Williams on the phone with us right now. We want to chat with him while you gather some more data and keep an eye on the latest information. Congressman, thanks for joining us. How have you been monitoring the weather situation?
Yeah, and in your course, in your time in the Navy, did you respond to or deal with any severe storms similar to what we're dealing with here today?
Well, that's incredible, a story and a recollection. You alluded to something that we've talked about a couple times on the air while we've been on for the last 3 or 4 hours today with the storm coverage, is the improvements in alert systems, whether it's people having a smartphone in their hand, the radar availabilities, the availability of the technology that the National Weather Service has. How do you give support to that? How do you prioritize that in Washington?
You know, you're also on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. When you talk about the importance of funding, you know, roads and bridges and highways, and what efforts are being made in that regard in Washington? Yeah, and certainly we hope that we don't have any big damage to our roads and bridges from the storm.
Congressman, as we wrap up, that actually is the area that is one that seems to be hit the hardest. Not that there was a tornado in Clare, Cicero, but there are a lot of power outages there. What final message would you like to leave to the public? You pointed out something really important, that they heed the warnings and pay attention.
Yeah.
We get a little rumble of those once in a while.
Congressman Williams, we'll let you get back to your important work in Washington, and we thank you for taking time to talk to us. We do want to head back to Pete, and we should remind, thank you. We should remind our viewers, Pete, that we do live stream our newscast on our mobile app, on our website, cnycentral.com. So if you are in an area maybe where you've lost power, or you're not in the area, but you want to keep up to date on that important local weather information, you can do it right from your phone.
Local information now.
Yeah, remember that same storm we talked about going through Baldwinsville and then eventually Oneida Lake?
Yeah.
This is now a confirmed tornado that right now is moving into Herkimer County. I know it's technically moving out, but you very rarely get this is from the National Weather Service. A confirmed large and extremely dangerous tornado was located near Forestport, moving northeast. Which is what we covered it right as it was happening right there. And now it's here. This, granted, thank goodness, is more of a rural area, but this is the same storm. Any of these kind of hook things can, boom, flare up immediately. This is a confirmed large tornado via the National Weather Service. Okay? I'm going to take all of this other stuff off so you can see everything better. Look at the velocity signature. Look at this right here. Okay? That's bad. That's really bad. So I'm going to zoom in.
Radar, right?
No, it's confirmed. It is a radar confirmed tornado. That is correct. So, but their impacts are saying you are in a life-threatening situation. Flying debris may be deadly to those caught without shelters. Mobile homes will be destroyed. Considerable damages to homes, businesses, and vehicles likely, and complete destruction is possible. That is for now. Granted.
Talking about Forestport and Woodgate and Alder Creek, that's kind of where you might cut through from Boonville heading up north.
Right.
There's a lot of wooded areas, but there also are a lot of people there, and there's a variety of structures, from a standard wood frame built home to more mobile homes.
Right.
That could be a great risk, especially with all the heavy, big Adirondack type trees.
I will just say I mean, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this because now it's going into Herkimer County, which is technically out of our area, but it's the same storm that went from Syracuse, North Syracuse. By the way, I put on Twitter, someone getting video from East Taft Road. Remember we called that out? It almost looked like a tornado on the ground. It was very close. Didn't quite make it. The same storm has a confirmed radar tornado in Herkimer County, exiting Oneida County, next up Atwell and North Wilmert. So we won't stay wall-to-wall coverage on this because it's now in Herkimer County, but it's just to show you, we've got to continue to watch these through this evening, guys.
You know, listen, you just have to think in these moments about the communities in Central New York and the neighbors and just pray, right, that everyone is okay, because these are very dangerous situations, as Pete has been talking about. So please do make sure that you're checking in on your neighbors. Perhaps maybe you have folks who are in mobile homes or other structures that might not be as secure. Maybe you have elderly neighbors. So it's really important for everybody to call in and check and make sure that they're all okay.
You know, we've been telling about so much for the last several hours, including these tornado warnings, but it looks like we have a little window right now. We can take a quick break. So we'll be back with more breaking news coverage about the severe weather.
I do want us to come back to weather because we have a severe thunderstorm warning southwest of Syracuse, like Marcellus, Atisco, Elbridge, Jordan, Skaneateles, Auburn, when we come back. You guys are kicking it.
You're not a fan of the Congressman's advice to get under a bridge?
No, I need to do the radar. Where is Violet?
The bridge is not.
I shouldn't say no. Where is Violet?
In Forestport.
Is she?
That really is an area that could have use a video of topple trees.
We checked in on your loved ones.
You guys have a break?
Yeah.
Would you mind just asking her if she thinks there will be sports or not, just so that, no?
Charlotte, any idea whether there might be sports or not?
I'll stand by. I'm not talking.
Leaning probably not.
Well, I've already blocked.
I'll come back in at 6:20. We'll check in. Good work, everybody.
You're still in reserve, though, Sam. Still in
Yeah.
reserve.
I have.
What do you think, Coach?
Should we check in on your parents? Is that okay?
Me.
Feeling good about them.
Unless she sees a tornado on the ground. If she sees a tornado or something extreme, then we can go to her first. And how much do you want me to do for weather? Because I have no idea. I can do whatever you want. I can do a quick weather here and then go to Violet if you'd like. What do you think?
You're back with our live coverage of the severe storms, the tornado warnings and watches that have taken over Central New York today.
Meteorologist Peter Hall is tracking the storms. There's a tornado warning still in the lower foothills of the Adirondacks, but also thunderstorm concern in the more immediate Central New York area. Peter?
Yeah, let's get right to the radar because there are severe thunderstorm warnings approaching the Syracuse area. These yellow boxes, all of this right here from just near and southwest of all of this is a severe thunderstorm warning. This yellow polygon right here. So let's zoom in for a closer look. So here we go. The official warning for severe thunderstorms, not a tornado, is from roughly Camillus and Onondaga south and west. I'm worried about flash flooding. Why? Because all this is moving northeast, and the corridor that has the worst rain before, typically when you get flash flooding, it's due to repetitive thunderstorms. Let's be weather aware in Clay, Brewerton, Baldwinsville, and Jack's Reef, northwest of Van Buren, and just near and north of the Throughway between Wheatsport, Port Byron, Jordan, and Montezuma. Why? Because that area is all getting rain from this. Now, with respect, this all could also have wind damage as well, so let's be weather aware of that. Just an update, there's that tornadic storm. There's a particularly dangerous situation warning for this. You don't hear that very often either. It's for this Atwell area. That was what Matt was talking about. And we're still keeping an eye on the Georgetown cell, although it is not that strong, but it does have a little bit of a couplet here, heads up in Lebanon and Hamilton, just in case. So we're going to keep you posted on that. Am I tossing to Violet, Skybor, or Matt and Megan?
We got you.
Okay, guys, back to you.
Thank you, Peter. Pilot Skyboard is with Weather 31. She's been driving throughout Central for the last 2 hours.
Yeah, Violet, we've been watching some of the videos that have been coming in from viewers across Central New York. They are impressive. What are you seeing where you are?
Thank you, Pilot Skyboard. We'll continue our coverage of the weather alert and jump right back in if there's any more tornado warnings or severe weather updates we need to bring.
Okay, let's get to some national headlines for you tonight. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is taking action against 2 members of the U.S. Supreme Court. The Democratic lawmaker from New York is introducing impeachment articles against Justice Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito. Numerous House Democrats have focused on the Supreme Court in their campaign messages. Some previously said if they end up retaking the majority in the House, they will probe alleged ethical lapses by Supreme Court justices.
Happening around the world, we're getting our first look at what Team USA gymnasts will be wearing at the Olympics in Paris this year.
The 8 Olympic leotards for the women's team were unveiled today. They feature Swarovski crystals in a red, white, and blue color palette in a variety of designs. The team final leotard is the centerpiece, resembling an American flag draped over an athlete after winning an event. It features one navy sleeve covered in stars with a white bodice with red stripes, covered in nearly 10,000 diamond-shaped crystals. The leotard's design team said they were inspired by high fashion and art, paying homage to Paris, while also staying true to the stars and stripes. You can watch the 2024 Paris Games on NBC3 starting July 26th. Our coverage begins at noon.
Still ahead, an upstate New York native headed to the Paralympics coming up in sports. How he's battling Parkinson's and watching his Olympic dreams come true.
Is that gonna be early? Is that gonna be like in a minute or two?
I have no idea.
That's my story.
I guess so. You're learning as we're learning.
Okay. Would you be able to ask how much time I have? I just wanna go put on my heels really fast.
Charlotte, how long is it till the back?
I'm here too, Charlotte. Can you hear me? You hear anything or no?
No.
No?
We're in a break. You got us at 2 minutes or less.
All right.
You see conditions are still struggling.
You guys had the,
I don't even have it. I don't even
Got
have
it.
Sorry.
that's okay.
I don't even have to use it today.
There's also there's no camera here.
That we can fix.
Can
Cameras?
you guys hear me?
Who needs cameras?
Well,
There it comes.
I can't hear anybody. Oh, I got it, it's just low. Talk again? Okay. Full block or what?
We're doing Connor's story before you now. Sam. Left.
Okay. I'm chilling.
Hurry up and wait.
Huh?
Hurry up and wait.
I got it.
Understand. The mirrors were well placed.
Okay, are we gonna do a full block? For me?
Can you go back in that front to see if there's anything above me? Yeah, keep going. One more, right there.
You want me to run it for
We
you or
can
no?
run it, but we couldn't get back to it.
Got it.
Ready? Come up here, please. Ready? I got it. Now, I'll just.
And they're gonna take out these CGs. No, the former use.
No, I know. Consistent. With school out for the summer, the Syracuse City Schools report 70% of its seniors are graduating.
After years of improving the graduation rate, educators say there is a lot of room to grow.
It took years to bring the district within striking distance of the state average graduation date. Go back the clock just 10 years, only about half of the city's high school seniors got a diploma. The superintendent says they not only want to get that number higher, they want to ensure that test scores and attendance also improve throughout the district. Connor White takes a look at those numbers and what comes next.